Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by my co-host, the glorious Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you on this week where passion shone brightly, but unfortunately is no more?
Yeah, I'm great, my man. Just terrific stuff. Great wrestling all weekend. I do want to make a disclaimer as we're recording this. It is Memorial Day, so there's a possibility that you will hear motorcycles going down my street. There's one right there, about 1,000 miles an hour, on obviously fireworks and maybe some gunshots going off as well. There we go, literally on cue. The motorcycles are down my road. So apologize for that. I'll try my best to mute it when I can, but. No, brother, I'm doing well. Again, a great weekend. Had a little birthday party for me this past weekend. My wonderful wife threw me a nice birthday party at this. If you're watching on YouTube, you're like, wow, Matt, you look extra handsome today. I got this crystal clear 4K camera from my wife, and then my mother-in-law got me one of these lighting rings here that I just saw is on about 20%. So about halfway through, it'll probably bleep out because of I forgot to charge the battery. So, but that'll be cool. Nice little effect, right? Nice little,
Absolutely.
Like Castlevania 2, where it goes from day to night and night to day. That's what we're doing on the Marigold Standard. And I share this on Patreon, and I'm going to share it again. For those of you that have been with us a long time, one, we thank you. And two, my daughter is an artist. And what she made me for my birthday.
Look at that.
That's beautiful. You see the ring that's the ring that's bouncing off. That's the reflection. I think there's a remote that's with it. I should have shut it off. But regardless, there's Sai Kamatani after she won the World of Stardom Championship on top of the ramp in Sumo Hall back at Dream Queendom last year. So yes, I have a lot of really cool stuff that my wonderful daughter has drawn for me. So so that was really fun. That was on Saturday, and then Sunday went to go see two little bands by the name of Pantera and Metallica, Rob Goodwin, which was all sorts of fantastic. Pantera was terrific, as per usual, and Metallica was great. Now, are you aware what Metallica is doing with these no repeat weekends that they're doing?
Well, I know that they did when they did Download a couple of years ago, which is the big rock festival in the UK, which I've been to several times. From seen Aerosmith there, Guns N' Roses there, and all sorts. Metallica did 2 nights, and basically the whole premise was they were going to play one set on one night, and they were going to do another set the following night with no repeats, which I suppose you can do when you've released 835 albums.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So when we went 2 years ago, we went to the Friday show. So they do Friday and Sunday. They wanted to do Friday and Saturday, but then they realized, like, hey, we're not in our young 20s anymore. So they need a day to recoup. So we went Sunday, and again, my cousin Frank, hi cousin Frank, him and his wife, lovely wife Marie, sharp tongue Marie, they went to Friday and Sunday. She can never be on the show because she curses like a sailor, but she's hilarious, and a sweetheart of a person. Anywho, so I did tell them, do not tell us what songs they played on Friday, because I want to be surprised on what we get on Sunday. So we did realize towards the end of the set, not one song from Master of Puppets was played. My guess was they played all those on Friday. But we pretty much got the entire album of Ride the Lightning. Now, I've seen Metallica, I think, 5 or 6 times live before. I've never seen them play Ride the Lightning before. I mean, obviously, you have they played the Call Cthulhu, which is their instrumental thing, which they gave a tribute to the late great Cliff Burton, their first bassist, which I thought was great. From Whom the Bell Tolls. They started out with Whiplash from Kill 'Em All, then never came back to the Kill 'Em All album, which again, maybe they played the Four Horsemen and Seek and Destroy Night One. But again, like I said, they played pretty much the entire, with the exception of Trapped Under Ice and Escape, the entire Ride the Lightning album, including Fade to Black, which is kind of a point I want to make. Now, Rob, I'm sure you've heard the song Fade to Black before, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What that song is about, it's about suicide. And every time I've seen Metallica, they play that song because that is one of their big hits. What was really cool with the way they did this past weekend is towards the end of the song, excuse me, the James Hetfield, the lead singer of Metallica, did say, he's like, if you guys don't know, this song is about suicide. He said, we've all have talked to people that have either attempted suicide or have been in a dark place before. He's like, the thing with, and I thought this was really cool of James to do. So the one thing with suicide, it is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Think about that. He's right. He's like, it gets better. Folks, it gets better. Talk to somebody. Talk to a counselor. Talk to a friend. Talk to a cousin. Talk to your loved ones. Talk to a stranger. We all need to talk to somebody. So the point, I heard that and I was like, you know what? I want to talk about that on the podcast this week. Folks, if you're ever going through, and we all go through tough stuff. I have friends of mine right now, they're going through a divorce and custody battle with their kids and other certain problems. Talk to somebody because it does get better. And one of the many reasons why I give out my contact information on the end of the show is, folks, you want to talk to me about something, you can talk to me about anything. If you're going through something and want to talk about wrestling or you want to talk about music or comic books to take your mind off it, folks, like I say at the end of this, every episode, we're all in this together. What I mean is by life, we're all in this together. We're all here to help each other through the bad situations and celebrate the good things. So folks, if you do need anything from me, you guys know how to reach out to me, Matt Turner OF. So I thought that was a really, really cool part. And then they ended said concert with my two favorite Metallica songs back to back, One and Enter Sandman.
Don't tell me. Oh, you've told me. I was going to try and guess what they were. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Carry on.
Sorry. So yeah, they entered with One and Enter Sandman. I did not see the actual Sandman come out in the Lincoln Financial Field. However, you can't have it all. But no, I mean, there was literally no empty seats. And obviously it was the Lincoln Financial Field where we were there for WrestleMania last year. We saw maybe a few empty seats. None. Again, Pantera was great. By the time Metallica came on, it was just me and my dad, and we're like, there are no empty seats here, none whatsoever. So we got out of there in decent time. The parking situation to get out of the lot wasn't as bad as it was on the WrestleMania nights we were there last year.
Dreadful, absolutely dreadful.
We got out of there, and then my adrenaline shut down with about 40 minutes left in said car ride. And I told my dad to take a nap because then he had to drive from my house back to his house, which is an hour drive. So I said, Dad, don't worry, I got the drive. Close your eyes. And I started getting really, really worried. And then he woke up. I said, all right, let's have a conversation to keep you up. So I'm maybe about 3 miles away from my house, Rob. And as you know, I live in the middle of nowhere.
He does.
There was an accident late in the night and the road was shut down. So instead of taking me 3 or 4 minutes to finally get home, it took me an extra 18 minutes. I had to go all through all the back road. Now, Rob Goodwin, a bad spot. However, I put a positive swing on it. I was so entrenched and mad that I got my adrenaline up and I was able to complete the rest of the ride home and I got myself.
There you go.
Yes. So
there you go.
Metallica was great. Pantera was great. Again, I'm so blessed by the wonderful family that I have that threw me a nice little birthday party. Rob, go enough about me. Tell me about your weekend, buddy.
Yeah, so it's been a nice little weekend. Me and Kirsty went out for a lovely meal on Saturday night. It was our anniversary. 15 years we've been together, Mr. Turner. 15 years. She's put up with this face for 15 years. The girl deserves a medal. But yeah, we just basically had some time together on Saturday, which was really nice. We then came back and watched what can only be described as one of the worst films I've ever seen. I'm not going to tell you what it's called, Matt, because then I'll end up with it on DVD, like I did with Hot Goddamn Frosty. Yeah, that in Las Vegas, guys. Yeah, rock up to see Matt. Haven't seen him in a year. How you doing, Matt? You all right? Yeah, I've got your present, mate. It was Hot Frosty on DVD. There's no need for that sort of just. Oh, anyway, I'm not going to tell him what film it is because I'll end up with it on DVD when we go to Japan. But yes, it was a crap film. But it's not about the film as it is about who you spend the time with. Don't you dare! I will tell Kirsty not to tell you. She'll do it anyway. But yes, apart from that, obviously, then we went to we had breakfast with some friends, and then went to walk into the local village to go to the local fair. Now, this sounds like the lamest thing in the world, and it is. But it's called the well dressing. Now, I thought that meant like everyone did their gardens up and like the village was no. They literally dressed the well, Matt. They literally dressed the well that is in the center of the town, the center of the village. Now, we got there. It was honestly. You won't know this because the Vicar of Dibley, I don't think, is something that is in the US. However, UK listeners, you will know what Vicar of Dibley is. When Dwight, whatever Elton John's real name is, Reggie Dwight, when Reggie Dwight shows up, right, that that's what End and Well dressing was, but without any people there. That was literally what it was. And then we had some beer, local pub, had some nice food. So it wasn't all bad. But yeah, apart from that, nice, relaxed weekend. There was no thrashing or moshing to Metallica for us.
That's okay. It sounds like that you had a really good weekend. So that's nice that we both had really good weekends. And we hope that you out there in listener land, you had a great weekend. We'll have a great weekend coming up, my friend. Oh, and speaking of great weekends, you know what else we did this past weekend? Watch some excellent wrestling from Dreamstar fighting Marigold, which we may as well hear. I see the banner. We may as well talk about it, right, buddy?
Hell yes. Shine Forever was an absolutely phenomenal show. Obviously, it was the end of a career of a Joshi legend in Nanae Takahashi, and the celebration of her career and her life, I think, were absolutely phenomenal. The video packages were fantastically done. We got talking head segments from the likes of Manami Toyota. We had Yumiko Hotta in the ring, which I didn't think we'd get. We got Momo Nakanishi having another match with Nanae, which was great. And I was looking at someone had put on Twitch, I think it was Peps, put on Twitter that from 1996, that was their first singles match. I think it was the fourth match of Nanae's career was the first time she faced Momo in a singles match, all the way through to 2025. And it was such a lovely way to bookmark Nanae's career. It was a fantastic celebration. Obviously, that aside, great wrestling. Really, really, really good wrestling. I think everyone that was given the opportunity to shine, pun intended, knocked it out of the park. I would argue that everything from Shinno's debut, you had the 8-woman tag, which again was it was fine, but it's not the match that we're going to be talking about when you consider everything else on the card. I thought the Marigold and Marvelous showdown was completely different to the Korakuen one, not just in the fact that the rule set was different, but also because they hadn't got as much time, it felt far more frantic. And I think because it felt far more frantic, it felt more urgent and therefore worked really well. So, and then obviously you had those final four matches, those four final singles matches, which were great, and I can't wait to talk to you about them. Speaking of Marigold, by the way, I am officially going to the Pro Wrestling Eve show at the Big Penny Social, which of course will see Bozilla, we'll see the likes of Zoe Lucas and Martina, Stardom alumni, but also we'll see the IWGP Women's Championship defense, Fury versus Alex Windsor. So if you are at the Big Penny Social watching Pro Wrestling Eve, come and say hi, because I couldn't persuade Kirsty to come, so it would just be me. So yeah, come say hi. So yes, we've got that to talk about. We are going to talk briefly about the Marigold Rising Spirit show from Hackadate, which we didn't get time to watch last week. This is from the 18th of May, the final day of the Hokkaido mini tour that Marigold did. We didn't have a chance to talk about it last week. We're going to talk about it here just before we get into Shine Forever. But before we do any of that, Matt Turner, we have got some news we need to cover. Just a couple of bits. The first of which is we had an announcement during the show that we're going to be talking about, Shine Forever. Now, I did say on the preview episode that I thought we might get the Dreamstar dates announced, maybe even the competitors announced, because we are 3 months away from it. I do think that we will get that, if not at the next Korakuen, which I believe is the 17th of June, then we will definitely have it at the Korakuen after, which is, I believe, the 28th of June, but I could be wrong. Definitely the 17th. But we did get the announcement of Grand Destiny 2025. Now, this is extremely exciting for a number of reasons. So this is going to be taking place October 26th. So this is presumably the Summer Destiny show from last year. So we won't get Summer Destiny this year. We have got Grand Destiny October 26th in Sumo Hall, Ryogoku Kokugikan. Now, not only, again, is that very, very exciting because it's a huge venue for Marigold, and that obviously means that Marigold are going to be doing some great stuff there, but also it means we get the return of one of the greatest feuds in all of wrestling, Matt Turner. And that feud is Mayu Iwatani versus Ryogoku Kokugikan. I cannot wait for those first press conferences, and whoever she has got having to try and keep a straight face, as she says it, because still one of my favorite gifts of all time is Julia trying everything she can to keep a straight face as Mayu braves her way through this just absolute minefield of letters, and Julia just eventually breaks and she just can't keep it together. So look forward to that. Grand Destiny 2025, October 26th at Sumo Hall. Now, what I'm hoping, and the reason I said that I hope that this is replacing Summer Destiny, is that I'm desperately hoping we still get a big pay-per-view on the 3rd of January, because obviously that's when we're going to be in Japan. And I'll be really upset if this is replacing that.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing one a quarter. So,
Yeah.
my guess is, because again, we thought they were going to do Summer Destiny, where we would probably be getting the Io and Mayu match. Io is literally on top of the world this summer. They're going to need her for all the big shows, especially SummerSlam, doing the press at that, and obviously wrestling Raw and whatnot, and the occasional NXT show. So my guess is, and again, you never know. It all depends on what Io's schedule is, and if she's still on top of the world, which I imagine she definitely will be, because she's the most talented person in the biggest wrestling company in the world, in my opinion, with WWE. My guess is they probably couldn't get Io in during the summer, so that's why they probably pushed it back to October. Again, that's just my speculation. Didn't hear anything from Meltzer, nothing from Alvarez, nothing from anybody. That's just kind of my speculation, because you're basically promoting a show 5 months out. We're like, oh, that's something. You're promoting a show 5 months out in Sumo Hall. So yes, not only will we get Mayu versus Ryogo Kakakigen, and correct me if I'm wrong, buddy. Obviously, Julia popped, but I think Tam stonewalled her, because remember,
Tam did very, very well. Tam was a pro.
Because if you remember, that was supposed to be a three-way with Tam and Julia and Mayu, and then Tam, I believe, got COVID, and then
I was just going to say, I think she got COVID.
And then Julia and Mayu had a 30-minute absolute classic. I think the best match on said show. But yeah, so we have that, and then again, possibly Mayu versus Io. Let the speculation begin. Possibly the winner of the Dream Star. Maybe that's where they cash in on their championship, Rob. That's where, again. So, I mean, you're looking at this. It could be Mayu versus Io. It could be maybe something with Kairi. Maybe Kairi and Jungle Kyona. That's a really good possibility. Maybe something with Julia. That's another way they can go. It all depends on shakes out all, with the big, Joshi wrestlers that are over in the United States absolutely crushing it. It all depends on their availability. But it's a possibility we have an Utami versus a Miku Aono. It's a possibility we have a Mirai versus Mai Sakurai for the United National Championship. And also, Rob, again, I mentioned all these possible opportunities for WWE wrestlers to come over on said show to draw a big crowd. I think the biggest match of all, even bigger than Io versus Mayu, will be John Cena versus Megaton. I think it's John Cena's final year. We've seen him, he broke Ric Flair's record, main evented WrestleMania against the biggest star WWE has with Cody. We had that match of him and Randy Orton, probably the longest rivalry. They missed the opportunity to do John Cena and CM Punk at Money in the Bank, because I think they're doing some sort of tag match that nobody wants to see. But again, what do I know? So I think John Cena and Megaton in Sumo Hall, buddy. I think that's the way to go.
I mean, they did sort of tease that during Shine Forever, the Megaton's time in Darkness Revolution may be coming to an end. So maybe that's the next thing. Maybe, Megaton isn't, maybe she isn't the hero we want. She's the hero we deserve.
And we need.
We need.
She's part of the Chain Gang. You know what I mean? With John Cena. I think he did say that he's not bringing back Chain Gang John Cena for this final run. And everyone's like, oh, can you imagine rapping Megaton against current heel John Cena?
It's the match we all need to see. Yeah, obviously, I hadn't really thought about it being pushed back to accommodate certain schedules. Now, what I will say is, obviously, people are going to fancy book in their heads all these WWE wrestlers versus Marigold wrestlers, and I'm not here to dissuade that. If that's what you want to do, and that, it's exciting, of course. Sure. Obviously, bringing in WWE stars is expensive. Running Ryogoku is expensive. Marigold are not a company that has infinite finances. We know for a fact now that it is Rossi that is basically financing this company. And though Rossi is a rich man, I doubt that he will be able to bring in, 4 or 5 WWE talents, even if it is just for a one-off show. Now, if you think that 26th of October, Io Sky I think that Io will probably drop the belt at SummerSlam. which is August. You can then have EO off TV for a little bit, give her some time off, allow her to go home and see her family. And the sexiest man alive, Evil. And I will not hear a word said against him. He's a beautiful man. And, why not have Mayu versus Io? It's the match that we all want to see. It's the match that once Mayu left to go to Marigold, it was the match that we were like, oh my God, we might actually get this. This might actually happen again. And that's the match that I would shoot for. Now, obviously, whether Kairi comes over, whether, we get any other number of talent, Joshi talent that have worked in, whether Julia comes over, because I know that we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but Julia wanted to be a part of the Nanae show and was actually penciled in initially to be the final opponent for Nanae, which I suppose makes a glorious celebration make sense. But obviously that couldn't happen with the WWE schedule. And to be honest, I actually think this worked better. No disrespect at all meant to Julia, obviously. But I think we cemented a star in Miku Aono with that performance and everything that went along with it. So I think it's actually worked out for the better for Marigold. If I could just flex my fantasy booking brain just for a moment, I think there's one of two people wins the Dreamstar Grand Prix. And to me, it's either going to be Mirai or Miku Aono. I think those two are the two that go on to win it. I think Miku Aono wins it. Much as I would love to see Miku Aono, and again, speaking from a purely selfish standpoint, if there is a pay-per-view whilst we are in Tokyo, obviously we will be going to see it. And if we got to see Miku Aono versus Utami, absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that is going to happen because if Miku Aono wins, I'd have this is Ryogoku. It's your big venue, so you do it here. I think Mirai versus my belt is a great shout, a really, really good shout. Keeps Mirai in a prominent position because the last thing I want to happen now is for Mirai to slowly sort of fade into obscurity for a couple of months. Because again, this feud's done wonders for Mirai. Mayu versus Io has to be the big thing. Has to be the big thing. But what I don't want is Io parachuted in for every pay-per-view, which they haven't done, and I don't want them to start doing. Okay, it's expensive. And obviously, you want the pay-per-views to be selling off the back of your own talent. I think Marigold are cultivating a really, really strong roster with everyone coming back from injury now, with the debuts of the likes of Seriyama Oka, with the debut of Shinno, who seems to be some sort of wrestling prodigy. Like, what the hell was that? Dropping my Sakurai on her neck 8 seconds into the match or whatever it was. I think it was 2 minutes. 8 seconds is an exaggeration, but this show has the potential to be really, really, really good. And I don't know about you, Matt. You might have a completely different thought on, the Dreamstar winner, but what are your thoughts heading into Marigold's first foray into Sumo Hall since Summer Destiny?
No, right now I'm kind of agreeing with you that I think it's going to be Miku Aono that wins the Dreamstar. I mean, Rossi's a very, very smart man, and he knows obviously there's a lot of buzz on Miku Aono. Obviously he built her up perfectly for that match, put it in the main event, and I know, and kudos to Sonny and Stu, did a great job on commentary. I know they made mention that Mirai and Utami's the main event, but Miku Aono and Nanae was the match that went on last. So I was like, it's a pretty cool way. I would have just said double main event, but whatever, neither here nor there. But obviously, again, we're going to get into it at the end of this podcast. You put a lot of stock in Miku Aono, and rightfully so. She is the hottest wrestler in your company that's not a champion right now. And then that's the person that you want to build up to Utami Hayashishita. And you're right, Sumo Hall, you're going to want to try to draw 4,000 tickets. I think last year they did around 3,000 tickets with the double main. Another motorcycles went by. Happy Memorial Day to everybody in the United States. But you kind of have those two great matches back to back with Utami versus Io and then Julia versus Sari. You can kind of do the same thing if they are bringing in the Io in. I mean, again, who knows? It's purely speculation, and we're just fantasy booking. We don't know anything, not just in this car, but in life in general, Rob. In life in general, we just don't know anything. But you can do Io versus Mayu and then Miku Aono versus Utami. that would be a really good way to get more eyes on one Miku Aono. And win, lose, or draw, that's a great spot for her. She's going to come out of that match, if that's the way they go, a bigger star because one, she's great. Two, she knows how to lose. And three, Utami is going to pull her up to that next level because Utami, other than Saya Kamatani, is the wrestler that does that better than anybody in all the wrestling. I mention it all the time. She's one of one. She's a truly special and unselfish talent, and she's one of the reasons why Marigold has been able to prosper so much in this first year from the company. But yeah, a lot of really cool stuff again, because that's your big show coming up in October. We still have a lot of good, they set up a lot of great stuff for the Cork and Halls and on the house shows coming up over the next few months. And then you're absolutely right. Before we know it, buddy, we're going to be in tournament season. We're going to be in tournament season between the Dream Star, the G1, the 5-star, really, really great stuff. It's going to be a super busy yet exciting time for us over here at the Marigold Standard.
There is, of course, one other match that they may put on at the top of Grand Destiny, which was teased at the end of the main event or the Crimson Red Belt Championship match. So they may, with that challenger, which we'll talk about later, with that person sort of saying, yeah, absolutely, we are going to have a match, just not yet. Maybe they will put that off till Grand Destiny. And that would be a match I'll be very excited to see. And then, of course, you would then run Utami, presuming she's still your Crimson Red Belt champion, against the Dream Star winner at, if it's going to be First Dream or whatever that pay-per-view is in January. Please, if anyone's listening from Marigold, please run a pay-per-view in January.
Yeah, we're literally
just from a purely selfish standpoint, just because we're going to be there.
We're going to be there. We want the most bang for our buck our first time in Japan. Again, it's like the dream vacation that our dream trip that we've been talking about for. And again, if you know me on a personal level, I know some of my lifelong friends listen to this podcast. You know that ever since I was in high school or even grade school, like that's always been my dream place is to go watch wrestling in Japan. So if we're going to be there, let's get as much stuff in as possible. Dream Queendom, whatever pay-per-view the Marigold's going to put on, obviously the Tokyo Dome, Cork and Hall, Sumo Hall, those are all venues that me and Rob will be crying like girls going to a Justin Bieber concert as we walk into said show. Is that still a thing?
Absolutely.
Do girls still cry at Justin Bieber concerts?
Who knows? Who knows? What I will say is, in terms of the attendance at Sumo Hall last time, 3,058 was the number for Summer Destiny. If you have Io versus Mayu on that card, then you have obviously Red Ball match, a Y Ball match, depending if Mayu is still Superfly champion, Twin Star Championship match. Early prediction, does Grand Destiny top that number?
Yeah, I think it does because as big as a star Io was last year, she's a bigger star now. I love Utami Hayashishita, but you have that Io versus Mayu, which is really 2016. And then right around 2018 when Io left, Mayu's a bigger star. Marigold has a year under its belt instead of just a few months. Obviously, yep. Julie and Sari, and I keep saying when we talk about Summer Destiny, about that dream match with Utami and Io, Sari and Julie was a dream match as well. It really was, and we knew that was probably going to be a one-off because we knew that Sari not under contract, Julie eventually going to WWE. And we'll get into that three-way she had at SmackDown at the end of the show, Gates of Julia, that I just watched today, which was unbelievable. But you had a lot of great stuff on that card. But I just think with Io being a bigger star, Io and Mayu is the biggest match that you can do, if that's the way they go about it. And Utami as your red belt champion, whether it's Miku Aono or Takumi Roha. And like I said, you have more cachet over a year of what Marigold's been doing. I think that they will outdraw. I will say this. I don't think Mayu is going to walk in as Superfly champion, Rob. I believe she'll be dropping that to Thea Hale on NXT. Because from what I understand, again, I cannot submit my sources.
Why would you?
For when I understand, in the next month or so, they're going to be running an angle with Mayu and Thea Hale, both being half sisters, with Kane being their dad. So that's the.
Did this come to you in a dream? Because that is awful.
This came to me on my drive to Metallica, buddy. I was in the car a lot these past week or so. So it's like I've been sitting on that one for about 24 hours, buddy. But no, to be serious, to answer your question, I think that will outdrive. I think it'll get. I wouldn't be shocked if it gets close to the Dream Queendom number from last year with Sai and Tam. Obviously, they sold it out, and but they cut it off at a little over 4,000 because they had that stage there. But we have seen New Japan where they get rid of the stage and they're able to put 7,000 people, whatever there. But I wouldn't be shocked if this gets around 4,000, 4,100, the way that Marigold's going right now, buddy.
Oh yeah, certainly. Marigold feels enormously hot and has done since probably the start of February. The recovery from these injuries and the Korakuen Hall shows that they've put on have been fantastic. Obviously capped off by Shine Forever, which is capped off year one for the company. I think there's a lot to be very, very, very positive about. And I completely agree with you. I do think it will top 3,058. Utami and Io was a dream match because it's a match we'd never seen. And it was sort of an intrigue, not only because it's Io and, it's her first match back in Japan since 2018 and against Utami, who is the ace of Marigold. But here, this is a match that not only have we seen before, but is one of the greatest feuds, at least in recent Joshi. Io versus Mayu. And it's a lauded feud and a feud that we never thought we'd see again. To get that again, to know what these two are capable of, that in itself is a huge ticket draw. And then, of course, you're absolutely right. Marigold have got, will have over a year on Summer Destiny. They will have gained, a bigger fan base. The wrestlers will have developed more. You've got a bigger roster. You've got I think you've got a more exciting roster with the likes of Shinno, with the likes of Seri Yamaoka, with the likes of Kazuna Tanaka, Ryo Sato, for God's sake, who developed massively. Komomo Minami, who had a really good match with Nagisa Takibana on that Hokkaido show randomly. There's a lot to be really, really excited about in terms of the future. So I'm excited to see what comes out of Grand Destiny and what comes out in the lead up to it as well. Today was Monday Magic for Noah, the start of Monday Magic 2025. Now, during the show Shine Forever, Nosawa was backstage and asked Mayu if she would turn up to the Shinjuku Face show today, and she said that she would think about it. She did. She did turn up. Her and Kouki Amare, your GHC Women's Champion, by the way, took on the team of the Great Sequoia, who, again, I didn't realize was Riko Kawahata till embarrassingly recently, and Sadie Gibbs from Marvelous, who is great. Mayu and Kouki Amare walked away with the victory. Mayu pinning Sadie Gibbs with the Dragon Suplex. Huge reaction from Mayu. Absolutely huge reaction. They went backstage and Mayu said, yeah, really enjoyed that. Don't know if I'm coming back for the next one. Nosawa was off camera and went, yeah, can you come to the next one as well, please? So it looks like Mayu will actually be coming to the second one, which is Monday. So the 2nd of June as we record. Matt, have you had a chance to see this match yet?
I did not. I did see the clips. It looked really entertaining. Again, it's more Mayu on our screen. How can we say no to that? And we obviously subscribe to Wrestle Universe. The main reason is so we can watch Marigold. But Pro Wrestling Noah's on there as well, so we get that included in our subscription. So free plug for Wrestle Universe. If you're not subscribed to that, I mean, you really should. It gets the most bang for your buck. Plus, they added Marvelous on there as well.
They added Marvelous. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a marvelous offer. See what I did there, buddy? Boom. But no, I didn't get a chance to see it. Really, really cool. Though that she was on there. Did you, sir, get a chance to see this?
I haven't as of yet. It's my gym viewing. Once we've finished this, I'm going to watch that. But what's Wrestle Universe, it's the best streaming service out there. There's no two ways about it. There's nothing even close. Like the amount you are getting for a ridiculously low price. Like aside from Noah and DDT and TJPW, you're also getting Marigold, Marvelous, Sendai Girls as well. Like it's just an absolutely astronomically good value for the little amount of money you're paying. It's almost criminal. But again, like we're very, very lucky. We really are. And Marigold being on that service is really, really helped them out as well. Now, obviously, Monday Magic, we talked about Mayu turning up. Kouki Amare was also on this show as well, making a second appearance since tearing an ACL and coming back in just over 5 months. And wrestling without a knee brace. or a knee pad. Anyway, that being said, she was challenged though for her GHC Women's Championship after the match. Takumi Iroha, who's been a busy girl over the last couple of days, she came out, challenged Kouki Amore for the belt, and that has now been made official for next week's Monday Magic show. So June the 2nd, Monday Magic episode 2 will have Takumi Iroha and Kouki Amore for the GHC Women's Championship. Obviously, this is just the second time that Kouki Amore will have defended the belt because of that aforementioned injury. Matt, a really, really, really good match. It's an interesting one because with the injury, I don't think Kouki Amore hasn't had the run she should have had. Hasn't been allowed to, it hasn't allowed her, to stretch those wings that, I'm sure she would have done. She was on top of the world when she won the belt. She was, the star that was being pushed from the Actress Girls group in Marigold. She was in main event. She was teaming with Utami. She was the seeming one that was breaking away in terms of star power. Then obviously she won the GHC women's belt and then ended up injured and kept a hold of the belt for the 5 months. Now she's wrestling Takumi Iroha, who is obviously the ace of Marvelous, has just run through Seri Yamaoka in a great match, by the way. Can't wait to talk about that. I don't see how Takumi Iroha loses this match.
No, because they're clearly putting stock into Utami and Takumi Iroha. You wouldn't have that challenge in front of 2,500 people. You can great house in Yogi for Nanae Takahashi's farewell match. You wouldn't have done that if you're not going to put that somewhere big, and whether you're trying to do over 1,000 people in Cork and Hall, which I think that match alone can probably do that, and you throw in the great talent that is Marigold. That's a good spot to have that there. But yeah, you're right. I just don't see Takumi losing there. My concern is, and again, we'll get into it when we talk about Shine Forever, I think they rushed Kouki back because she looked really rusty in that match. And I understood once it was a tag match that was announced, I was like, okay, because they're going to try to maybe work around it. Hopefully some of the ring rust is off her. If not, Takumi Iroha is going to kick and forearm the rust off her because Takumi Iroha is a fast, hard-hitting, next-level striker in the world of Joshi Pro Wrestle. So that's my main concern. I just want to make sure that Kouki Amore doesn't go back on the shelf because there's something that's misstepped. Because again, she put on a gutsy performance, but just seemed like some of her timing was off. And maybe it was just the nerves or adrenaline dump or something like that. And she just needed to get that first one out of the way. But next Monday's gonna be really interesting. One, to see who wins that match, and two, to see how Kouki Amore can keep up coming off an injury. And again, all the credit in the world. That's an injury that takes 10 to 14 months usually to recover, and she came back in 5 months. So we're going to be able to see if she can be able to keep up with Takumi in said match. But yeah, next Monday is definitely going to be interesting, my friend, and we may as well come back next week to talk about it.
Yeah, look, there was always going to be a little bit of ring rust with Kouki to come back from an injury like that. You're always going to have a little bit of ring rust, and you can do all the training in the world, but again, I don't know what it's like to wrestle, but in terms of soccer or in terms of football, you can do all the training that you want, but you go back into a match situation where you've just recovered from an injury. Like when I came back from Vegas, and that wasn't an injury. I'd just taken 3 weeks off to go to Vegas. In the training session before the match, I felt great. I felt like I was fit and I was went into the match. It's completely different. So it could just be that. And again, to come back from that sort of injury in this sort of time is incredible. And I think that does sort of go down to the fact that she didn't have surgery. Naho Yamada has had surgery with the same sort of injury and she's out for a year. So I think it's the recovery from the surgery more than anything. What I find interesting is that she kept a hold of the belt during the injury. And I was under the impression that we were keeping Kouki with the belt so that we could run back Chikagoto. Now, it seems like an odd decision if you keep the belt on Kouki Amore for 5 months while she's injured to then just have her drop the belt a week after she returns from injury.
From an outside to an outsider.
To an outside, I mean, it's Noah, so I mean, everyone is technically an outsider because they don't have a women's division. I don't know. It seems odd. It's going to be a good match.
Sure.
And Kouki is advertised, so they are doing the Burning Spirit tour. So this is the new tour, the second year of Marigold officially starting. They've announced the cards for the 30th and the 31st, which we're going to go through at the end of the show. Kouki is on the 31st show, so she's clearly just needs to be worked into it a little bit. Obviously, singles match completely different. We'll see how it was. And again, I haven't seen the match from Monday Magic yet. She might have been great in that. We'll see. It's going to be interesting unless they maybe go to a time limit draw. But I can't see Kouki going to a 15-minute time. Well, it's not going to be a 15-minute time limit draw, is it? It's going to be 30 because it's GHC.
30. That's a tall task. I mean, Kouki's only been wrestling. I mean, not that long. That's tough to do. 30 minutes. That's tough to do. And again, you got to give her credit coming back in 5 months. I mean, just the passion.
Hell yes.
The passion and love she has for pro wrestling is clearly there, and everyone is excited to see her back. And again, one of the many reasons why they drew 2,500 people was because people wanted to see the return of Kouki Amore. And against that presence,
absolutely,
that aura, the whole nine.
That theme song.
Yeah, when that theme song came out,
so good.
We haven't heard it in like 5 months. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. Other than when you listen to the start of this podcast, but other than that, partner,
that's why it's on the start of this podcast because it's an absolute banger.
That and the Miku Aono. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for her to turn heel and then Tekla does her theme. That we do the death metal version of it. Anywho, it's going to be really interesting to see. But regardless, Kouki Amore, we got nothing but love for, and Takumi Roha, we've been a massive fan of her ever since her Stardom days. So. Yeah, a really interesting thing there. You're right. Takumi Roha is a busy, busy person. We'll talk about her great match she had with Serio Mioka. And then again, her and Utami Hayashishita, they had a banger of a match in the 2021 5-star Grand Prix. And then they ran it back for Utami Hayashishita's red belt back, I believe. Was that the Osaka Super Wars or Tokyo Super Wars, Rob?
It was the Osaka Joe Hall show. So the Osaka Super Wars was the one where Momo turned. It was the 10th anniversary Osaka Grand Fight, I think it was called. It was in September of 2021.
And you might be wondering, wow, Rob, you really rattled off that information really quick. It's almost as if you've written a book about the year 2021 in Stardom, and he did, Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review, which you can get on Amazon. And don't forget to leave him a 5-star review and a comment.
That'll be lovely. Thank you very much. The only thing I can think is, maybe Kouki is absolutely 100% fit. They're going to have a great match, which would be fantastic. The only other thing is maybe Kouki's not as fit as she would like to be in regards to singles matches and defenses, and maybe they want to take the belt off her so she can recover, and ease her way back into multi-women matches and tag matches and things like that without the stress of a champion schedule. I don't know. These are all hypotheticals. The main thing is I hope she's all right. Obviously, as you mentioned, there was a bit of ring rust there, which I think was to be expected, to be honest. So we will see. But yes, Monday, the 2nd of June, Kouki Amore versus Takumi Roha, GHC Women's Championship match. Monday Magic, episode 2. With that being said, let's talk first then about the last night of the Rising Spirit Tour, which was the date from Sunday, the 18th of May in the Hakata General Wholesale Center in Hokkaido. First time Marigold have run the venue. It's a venue that is ordinarily run by DDT, from what I can gain from it. Marigold ordinarily, and I say ordinarily, of the 4 dates that they've run in Sapporo, have run the Chatteray's Gato Kingdom. No attendance has been announced for this show, but a show nonetheless that was very, very good. 2 really good matches in the main event, and then a surprisingly good opener as well. The results then are as follows. Singles match, Momo Minami defeating Nagisa Takibana with the Como latch in 10 minutes and 13 seconds. In a tag team match, Seri Yamoka and Minami Yuki defeated Hummingbird and Ria Sato. Seri pinning Hummingbird with a water wheel drop in 11 minutes and 48 seconds. Singles match, Chan Yota defeating Megaton. Chanyota submitting Megaton with a Nagata lock in 6 minutes and 58 seconds. Megaton keeping up that fantastic record of tapping the moment she is even close to being locked into a submission. 6-woman tag team match, Utami, Hayashishita, Victoria, Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka defeated the Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Misa Matsui. Utami pinning Misa with a torture rack bomb in 16 minutes and 7 seconds. Again, don't forget in our interview with Utami, she did rattle off Misa Matsui as the name she wanted to face. And if this match is anything to go by, I'm very excited to see that. And then in your main event, another 6-woman tag match, Nanae Takahashi, Mirai, and Chika Goto defeating Natsumi Shozuki, Miku Aono, and Mai Sakurai. Nanae Takahashi pinning Natsumi Shozuki with the 1-second EX in 19 minutes and 45 seconds. Now, Matt, this first match, the singles match between Momo Minami and Nagisa Takibana, this got a lot of buzz, and rightly so. It was a really, really good match. I've mentioned a number of times on the Marigold Standard how impressed I've been with Nagisa Takibana in particular, her development and her fire, and a real drive and determination in the ring. Momo Minami I've missed massively. I'm so glad she's back, because she was someone who had the legs cut out from under her with the injury, because she was really starting to come on. And I thought she had a really good performance at Shine Forever. But this match really did showcase two very bright talents in Marigold's future, and two that we aren't necessarily talking about when you think about Shinno and Seri Yamaoka, but two nonetheless who I think are going to have key roles in Marigold in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, usually when you have these wrestlers wrestling less than a year in a singles match, you're giving them like 5 or 6 minutes, enough to get some stuff in, sell, get some timing down, get some, get familiar with the crowd, and then kind of get out so they don't kind of overexpose themselves. Because again, they're only wrestling a handful of singles matches, where Momo Minami's probably had maybe a dozen, if that, singles matches. This one 10 minutes. And I mentioned last week when we talked about the 2 shows from the 17th, the back-to-back shows, both of those shows started out with a hot opener. Here we are the next day on the 18th. This was a hot opener. Yeah, it did get a lot of praise on social media, and I was like, well, obviously we're going to check it out because for the podcast, and we're big fans of both Momo Minami and Nagisa Takibana. And this was great. This was very technical. It was very fundamental. It was right up my alley. It's that old saying, you need to do headlock before head scissors. It was fundamental, right at my alley. Great stuff, back and forth, a good 50-50 match. Selling, timing, psychology, storytelling as well, crowd psychology. And eventually, though, it is the Komomo latch, as you called it. It's almost like a version of the Oklahoma roll into the Hanen's like 17, which is really cool. I've seen her do it a couple times before. Not only is it well executed, it's well worked. And when she rolls up her opponent, very much like Victoria Yuzuki's rolling arrow, I have no idea how, because you're going all over the place with it, but she winds up in the, as my light did go out. There it is.
I was just going to say, we saw the light go.
My light did go out, but she's able to roll up said person in the middle of the ring, which is really great. Again, ring positioning is so key. I thought that you're absolutely right. This was a terrific opener. 3.5 stars for me, my friend. And again, 10 minutes goes to show that they can take these two rookies and give them 10, 11 minutes against each other, and they're going to tell a great story. And most importantly, Rob, get these shows off to a hot start. That's really important.
And this is what I've really liked about these shows recently, is we've really started to see a lot of progress. We've seen it with Ryoko Sakimura, obviously, but Nagisa Takibana having just returned from, I believe it was a rib injury, Momo Minami returning from a knee injury. We've really seen them return with renewed vigor and almost that FOMO that, we've missed out for however many months. I need to restamp myself on this roster. And that determination to do that has led to some really fiery exchanges. We've seen, especially with Takibana and Sakimura, that frustration that Takibana has not got a victory, and she keeps getting submitted by Sakimura with the spider entanglement. So to see it here, yes, she keeps losing, but Takibana at the moment is someone who is really, really, really impressing me. And Momo Minami, again, I have really, really, really high hopes for her in the very, very near future. Moving on then, Seri Yamaoka and Minami Yuki. And Matt, the curse of Hummingbird continues ever since ever since we mentioned, oh, she seems to be racking up those victories. No, 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 no. No, no, no. She is lost again, pinned again by Sarayama, this time with the water wheel drop. What did you think of this?
Rob Goodwin, as you know, I love myself a good lockup. But you know what I like almost as much as a good lockup? A good wrist lock exchange. Good back and forth. No daylight in said wrist lock. And this was a great wrist lock exchange to start out with Rhea Sato and Sarah Yamaoka. I mentioned it, I think it was last week or the week before, that Hummingbird and Sarah Yamaoka, they work really well together, even though they have different styles. You have the high-flying style of Hummingbird and then that grounded amateur style of Sarah, but they work really well. Rhea Sato, Sarah Yamaoka, that could be a feud that carries this company for the next few years because they work really well together. They have great love for this sport. They know what to do and when to do at such a young age, and they're both really exciting. I thought their stuff in the beginning of the match and the middle of the match was great. Obviously, Manami Yuki, she's terrific. We've seen Manami and Rhea because the way they've improved their submission game over the last 4 or 5 months is second to none, and they have a really great submission exchange back and forth. Ultimately, though, this match boils down to almost a mini match with Hummingbird, the cursed Hummingbird. Hummingbird, we apologize for that. We really thought we were doing well by you, and then all of a sudden we're like, yeah, she's gonna get all these wins, and hasn't won since. So ultimately, though, it is her version of the air raid crash that puts away Hummingbird. Again, you start off the show with a great singles match, and then you back it with a great tag match. 3.5 stars for me. And again, partner, 12 minutes to tell the story. All young wrestlers, you're giving the opportunity to go and show what they can do in this match. Again, 3.5 stars, brother.
Yeah, considering this was sort of effectively just a tour show, 4 of the 5 matches were really, really solid. Like, obviously, the main event and the semi-main are usually very, very solid on these Marigold shows. But the opener was really good. This was really good. Okay, Megaton did get submitted in less than 7 minutes, but it's a Megaton singles match, and they mentioned it on the pay-per-view commentary that, you know, she's over with the live crowd, and that's undeniable. Like, you hear the reactions for Megaton. You know, many people say that she's the next Mayu Iwatani in terms of reactions. Nobody says that, by the way, but just
no. If she's the next Ryogoku Kakakiken as far as reactions are, buddy.
But I'm really intrigued in terms of Megaton to see what's next, especially if they do start distancing her from Darkness Revolution, because I feel like there is a space for her on this roster because of her reactions, because of her ability to connect with the crowd and make the crowd laugh. And actually, they mentioned on commentary, I think it was Stu Fulton, during the pay-per-view, that Gigaton was terrifying children, and I can believe that. You know, she was getting far too into that, but Megaton was she was able to toe that line and was actually more comedic, and the crowd were loving it. And I think if you were to put Megaton in the same sort of position as a Fukigen Death, you know, sort of that comedic presence to break up the cards. I'm not saying put her in the Dream Star by any stretch of the imagination. However, I would say that is her place on this card. And again, you've proved that she is over with the Lagra. She got battered here by Chanyota. That's undeniable. And I think that's what we assumed was going to happen. And she submitted almost instantly again, which is her gimmick.
What I liked about this match is the placement in this match. You knew what you're going to get. Again, Megaton, is she over? Yes. Are you going to get that Utami, Mayu classic? No, but she's something different. She's something that stands out. You know, she's the comedic. She's funny. And her matches don't go that long, right? And again, another funny thing that adds to the gimmick is you put her in any hold and she taps out immediately. It's funny, you know, and again, it's something different.
It's good.
You had 2 great matches to start the show with the young talent. You know, you're the singles opener, the tag opener, and then you have 2 great main events, you know, match 4, match 5, which we'll get into. This is sandwiched in the middle because you're kind of breaking up. It's kind of, as Jim Ross would say, and our thoughts and prayers are with Jim Ross, as we mentioned last week, going through colon cancer. As Jim Ross would always say, it's kind of your let up match. You know what I mean? You need something to kind of something a little different before you go into your 2 insane main events, which we'll get into. This was fun. It's a chance for the crowd to see not only Chanyota, but Megaton. You get in the comedic stuff. And Chanyota just goes in. She basically plays her hit list of moves and then tapping out Megaton in about 7 minutes. A 3-star match for me as far as work rate goes. Again, it was fine. but at the same time, you knew what you're going to get. And that's what we got. And that's fine. Because then, as far as work rate goes, these next two matches were the definition of deliver and over deliver, partner.
Do you think it's a case of with Megaton? Obviously, I think a face turn's incoming, and I think it was very clear from Shine Forever that we are distancing her from the heel group. Do you think that there is a place for Megaton on the roster doing that sort of opening three-way comedic stuff that we've seen Kaori Oniyama do under the guise of Fukic and Death? Do you think that's sort of where we're going to see her? Because again, she gets a reaction, a good reaction, a loud reaction. Do you still think she has, do you still think that's where we sort of insert her?
Rob, that's a great question, because again, she's somebody different on the roster that gets a reaction. At the same time, over the last 2 or 3 months, look who Marigold has all these rookies, and these rookies that are developing, and eventually Naho Yamada is going to come back. Koki Amare just came back. Mayu's there. So you're taking up a roster spot. Don't forget,
we've also got another rookie debuting in Osaka as well. Don't forget, on the 14th, I believe, of June.
So and on my brother's birthday. So June's a busy month, man. Expensive month for me, but neither here nor there. Maybe you bring her in time to time. I don't know if you would see her on all the cards. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe they do. Maybe Rossi's like, no, she's somebody that is endearing with the crowd. Maybe she does it as a baby face. She hands out balloons or something like that, or whatever. There's a lot of different things you can do with her because she's different. At the same time, this roster is ever growing and expanding. And do you take away giving a rookie, instead of 2 minutes, 5 minutes to get so Megaton gets on the card? There's two different ways to look at it. Is there a place for her in this roster? Absolutely, because she's different. At the same time, if you put her on said card, is it take away time or a roster spot again from a rookie or a return of a Naho Yamada? That's a possibility as well. So again, I know I didn't answer your question, but I looked at it two different ways. Two different ways. Do I want to see Megaton and Marigold? Absolutely. I don't want to see her in 20-minute matches like this. 5-6 minute matches are fine, because that's, again, she's the let me up match. I don't want to see her matches with Utami. I think we've talked about that ad nausea over the last few months. But you throw in comedy stuff. You know what? I mean, if you think about it, if she has singles matches with every member of the Darkness Revolution Army, losing in 4 minutes to like a wrist lock or a headlock, like that would be fun and funny. Not only that, but then you're putting sympathy on her because she got kicked out of the only heel group in the company, and then each week she's getting her ass kicked by said member. So you can build up sympathy that way. Whole bunch of different ways they can go about it. Obviously, Rossi knows what he's doing, so we shall sit back and see what they do, good sir.
Yeah, for me at least, and then we'll move on in a moment, but for me at least, you've got a roster where good wrestling, really, really good wrestling is the norm. You put anyone on this roster in a singles match or in a tag team match, you're going to get a good match. Megaton offers something a little bit different, and you're absolutely right, offers a break almost from that. And, we get Chanyota, we got the ability to see her in action. I'd love to see more Chanyota in Marigold, but obviously she's a freelancer, has other commitments. But I think Megaton does have that place, and I think as a babyface, certainly, at least for now, I think that could be in those opening match 3-ways. Stick her in with the rookies, and that's where for me, you look at rookies and they're great in ring because they're developing with Fuka, with Utami, with Mirai in the dojo. How are they going to react to a Megaton character in ring? Okay, let's see how you react to that sort of thing. And it's about development in that sort of way. We all know how they're going to react in a match situation against a fantastic wrestler. But how are you going to react against this comedic personality? Are you going to show your comedic side? Are you going to beat the living piss out of her? What are you going to do? And I think that helps with your development of your rookies and helps give them different sides in their arsenal. And that's what Megaton could do. Because I don't think anyone in the world thinks she's going to be the world champion. I don't even think Megaton thinks she's going to be world champion. Although, maybe Grand Destiny.
John Cena. I already told you.
There you go. You have. But I think that's where she goes next. Moving on to the semi-main then. King's Journey taking on the Darkness Revolution. Kazuna Tanaka, man. She's so good. She's in a singles match, and obviously we're going through the card. I'm sure it's Kazuna Tanaka versus Chan Yota in a singles match on the opening of the Burning Desire tour. And I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be absolutely incredible. Like just a low key banger on one of these tour shows. And here, I don't know whether it's her passion, whether it's just the way she just seems to enjoy everything. It's just this infectious personality she has. I just love watching her. I really do. There are just sometimes wrestlers that you just love watching wrestle, and Kazuna Tanaka is one for me.
I totally agree, and I'm going to add to it. In a singles match, I love watching her wrestle. When she's teamed with Victoria Yuzuki, it makes it even so much better. And then when you're throwing Utami on there, it makes it even better as part of the unnamed King's journey. Because the way that Celine Flora work together, they're fantastic. Again, it reminds you a lot of the Rockers, the Rock and Roll Express. They just know what to do, when to do it. And then you're taking your big main eventer, your ace and Utami, setting them up for success. Because again, I mentioned it before, and I'll mention it pretty much every week on the show. Utami is a very unselfish wrestler, not only in the matches that she's teamed with people with, but the people she's across the ring with. This match in 16 minutes, which I'm glad I got this time to tell the story, made you believe that any member of the Darkness Revolution Army can challenge Utami at a Korakuen Hall show. And if we're not taking the belt off Utami till at least October, maybe until next year, Rob, it seems like they're running Korakuen Hall every 3 to 5 weeks between now and I think the end of the year. Why not set up Utami versus Chiaki? And then after that match, Utami versus Nagisa Nozaki at the next Korakuen. And then after that, Utami versus Mitsu Matsui. Have her go through all of the members of the Darkness Revolution Army because you have a clear story to tell. But your championship babyface that does a great job selling, does a great job getting people over, have the other members cheat and then, blind the referee and bend the rules and then have Utami come back for the big win. You would set that up at each and every one of your Korakuen shows and send the crowd home happy because everybody wants to see Utami with their hand raised. And this match made you believe that that's a clear possibility. That's a clear possibility because just how great. I mean, don't get me wrong. Nagisa's great. Jackie's great. Misa's phenomenal. But Utami just pulls them up to another level, which is a very unselfish thing that they can do. And pro wrestling is a very selfish business. So the fact that we've seen Utami do it for years and years and years and really full stride here in the last year with Marigold just goes to show you what a great talent she is. But you're right. Kazuna Tanaka was terrific here. Her and Victoria Yuzuki as a tag team. I really think, Rob, as we're getting towards the end of the summer, I think that's going to be the tag team to belt up. Again, Magenta's your tag champs. I think we mentioned in it last week when they won the belts that give them a 3 or 4 round, 3 a V2, a V2, or V3, a V4 with a run, and then have Celine Flora beat them because I think they're the next apparent for the Twin Star Championships. Ultimately, though, again, great finish with Utami, Misa Matsui. You mentioned before when we had the honor of interviewing Utami that Misa Matsui is one of the wrestlers she wants to do a singles program with. We all want to see it. They planted the seeds here. 16 minutes to tell this story I thought was great. Sometimes we've seen where it's only getting 10, 11 minutes. And we're like, it was a great match, but we wish it got the more time to tell the story. This was the perfect time to tell the story. 4 stars for me, my friend. This was fantastic. One of my favorite shows from last week, or my favorite matches in all of wrestling from last week, which is saying something, Rob, because I watch a lot of wrestling.
You do watch a lot of wrestling. In terms of Korakuen Hall shows, as I mentioned before, they have got the 17th of June. They actually don't run Korakuen then for another month. The next time they run the Korakuen Hall is the 16th of July. Now, Marigold have proven that they are not scared at all about running Korakuen Hall without a red belt match on top. Bozilla we had, and before then, the last red belt match at Korakuen was Bozilla and Sari. So they've proven that they're not scared of it. I do think that there will be at least 2 Korakuen Hall red belt defenses before Grand Destiny. Who they will be against, I don't know. Obviously, we know that Misa Matsui has eyes on another belt, which we'll talk about later. I think belting up Celine Flora is a great idea, especially as we seem to be going almost blow for blow. Victoria Yuzuki and Mayu Iwatani and trying to be the first to claim the Grand Slam for Marigold. I love that. I think belting up Celine Flora and her being 2-1 up on Mayu would be great. It's just a really good storyline to have. I would love to see Misa versus Utami. I think they complement each other really well. Nagisa Nozaki, we saw in last year's Dream Star, has really good chemistry with Utami. Chiaki's a really interesting one. We haven't seen a challenge for singles gold yet. I'd want to see a challenge for the white belt first.
Sure.
I'd want to see what she looks like in a singles setting, because she works really well in both a tag and a 6-woman setting. We've seen that. We've constantly said about how she's an underrated, really solid competitor. But how is she going to fare in a singles setting? We've seen it with Misa. We've seen it with Nagisa. Let's see it with Chiaki. Let's see her challenge Mai Sakurai for that white belt before we throw her into the red belt picture, even as just a filler defense for Utami. Moving on to the main event of this show. And this was another really nice, emotional closing to the show. Obviously, Nanae, Mirai, and Chikagoto walking away with the victory. Nanae getting that victory over Natsumi with the 1 second EX, which will play a pivotal part in the Shine Forever show. But I thought this was another really, really, really great match, which, again, this isn't hyperbole when you look at who is in the match. Nanae, Mirai, Mai Sakurai, Miku Aono, Natsumi Shozuki, even Chikagoto, who has been, improving tenfold recently. You knew this was going to be a good match. And this felt like a really, really great way of capping off what is an underrated show, I'll be honest, on this tour. I thought this show was really good. I did get to watch it by the end, by the way. I don't know if you'd noticed.
Yeah, because you had a dynamite analysis there, partner. You have Nanae is basically her last multi-person tag match before her big final match here in Marigold and all of wrestling, and it's against the ladyship, Rob. This is
the ladyship, indeed.
Yeah, Sakurai, Miku Aono, Natsumi Shozuki. Again, obviously, what you're doing here is you're planning, you're driving home Nanae versus Miku Aono. That's your main crux here. Miku Aono, Mirai, you're getting great chemistry. They were terrific together. Chikagoto, great passion, for lack of a better word, great fire. Nanae and Mirai do a great job making sure she gets in what she needs to get in. She's getting in the proper reps. Again, this match almost went 20 minutes, and you love that because you love to see the outside, the story there. I really think there's something there with Mirai and Mai Sakurai. I think that's the way they're going to go. I think Mirai is going to be the one to take the United National Championship from her tag partner and Mai Sakurai. We saw some flashes there. Ultimately, though, even though this match was the underlying story to Miku Aono versus Nanae, it was really not so much Shozuki and Nanae towards the end. They had some great exchanges there towards the end. Some hard-hitting, great stuff back and forth. Natsumi really, really brought it. Again, I think there's another one that you're going to look at pushing towards maybe getting towards a final spot or being in contention on the final night of the Dream Star. Maybe that's because I'm just a massive fan of Natsumi Shozuki, but I thought she was the MVP in this match. But as much as I love the last match we talked about with King's Journey, my man, I like this one a little bit better. I thought, again, everybody played their role really well, but that mini match we had towards the end, that blitzing finish with Nanae and Natsumi Shozuki, I thought was really second to none. 4.25 stars for me, my brother.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of Natsumi Shozuki, a massive fan. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are going to be pushed at the end of this Dreamstar Grand Prix, are going to be in contention. And I would argue that Natsumi Shozuki is probably going to be one of those people in the tournament that constantly has great matches, but won't pick up the results. And the way I sort of see it is very much a Tomohiro Ishii in the G1 Climax, where he'd have stonking matches, but wouldn't necessarily come out on the right side of the result. And I've got a horrible feeling that's probably what we're going to do with Natsumi Shozuki. And it's that old adage that you can't push everyone. And, we've already said we want Mirai up there. You want Miku Aono up there. Utami is going to be up there. She's a red belt champ. She's the red belt champion. Mai Sakurai is going to be up there. She's white belt champion. Mayu is going to be up there. She's Mayu. Victoria Yuzuki is going to be up there. And that's without, Misa Matsui, who we said we wanted to be up there. The likes of Kazuna Tanaka, who was going to be wanting to improve on last year's points total. Unfortunately, Natsumi Shozuki, out of those people, is the person that I think will probably be the person eating pinfalls, but having great matches. And that's nothing against her whatsoever. She's fantastic. But I think that Marigold, at the moment, are heating up other people. as opposed to Natsumi Shozuki. Can I just point out as well, for those on YouTube, I didn't realize how blue Natsumi Shozuki's eyes are.
Yeah. And I also noticed on the slide before that Utami had two different eye colors. So
There you go. There
look at
you
that.
go.
That's why. It's another reason why to watch on YouTube.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is enough of the Hackaday show. Even though genuinely it's in the archives on Wrestle Universe, I do actively encourage you to go and watch it. It's a really short show, really good show, and a really good advert for the Marigold roster as a whole. But of course, the main event of this podcast is looking back at the pay-per-view Shine Forever 2025, a glorious celebration. And it really was a glorious celebration because not only are we celebrating one full year of Marigold, but we are also celebrating the career of one of the Joshi greats in Nanae Takahashi. 28-year wrestling career, wrestled 2,333 matches and 988 singles matches. That's an astonishing career. And when you consider that she debuted in 1996 in All Japan Women's and has gone through all these different companies, founding Stardom, founding Seedling, founding, Marigold as well, she really has been pivotal in so much in Joshi. And I thought this was the perfect way to really send her off into the sunset. Not just a fantastic match with Miku Aono, but the following gauntlet, all of the celebrations that went along with it. The video package, and Matt obviously will, I'll talk a little bit about the attendance and things like that in a moment. Marigold released on their YouTube channel. I can't remember if it was their YouTube or their Twitter, actually, now that I've said that. They released a video anyway of Nanae announcing to the roster that she would be retiring on the 24th of May. Have you seen this video?
I did, buddy. And it just goes to
Oh
show
my
you
God.
how important she is. And if you've never, and
Absolutely.
again, there's newer watchers to Marigold all the time, especially now with Mayu. 'Cause I get a lot of people asking me, like, what's, they know who Mayu is, and now I'm going to Marigold. So there's new watchers to Marigold that if you don't know and you watch that, you can clearly tell how important she is and how much she means to this roster because everybody was breaking down in tears. So I think it was really cool that you can capture that emotion and you can't fake that. I always say wrestling is the realest sport in the world. And I think people have, well, why do you say that, Matt? Because the bumps and the bruises? Well, yes, but the main thing is the emotion that people feel, us as fans, us as people that follow the sport, cover the sport, or the actual wrestlers themselves. And that is a real moment right there, my friend. That was a real moment. And it just added so much onto the whole package of that was not only just the match, and again, we'll get into the match. The match was one of the best matches of the year in all of
Oh
wrestling.
God, absolutely.
But then you throw in everything else before and after. It's one of those things that we're going to remember forever. We're going to remember forever, and we can't do nothing but thank Marigold for giving us that great moment. Not only the match. If the match was just, and we see sometimes some wrestlers overstay their welcome, and it just seems like Nanae Takahashi and Miko Satomura, who retired last month, were like, man, they can still go another year or two. Obviously, we don't know the physical toll and the mental toll that pro wrestling's put on their bodies, but not obviously like what I meant to say was if the match was like a 3.5-star match and you still got that great, the great ending, you would always remember that. But the fact we got such a great epic classic, and then you throw in the video beforehand, and then the celebration and the impromptu gauntlet, which I had a feeling was coming, buddy. I had a feeling was coming, but all in all, this was a great show, topped off by a great match, topped off by a great moment. So again, it's a steak on top of a steak on top of a steak. I think I'm just saying that because I think Amber is grilling steaks for Memorial Day. So
nice. Yeah, and I think what else was really important was you look at the reaction of Kazun Tanaka, of Ryo Saito, and Sariyama Oka, and you're absolutely right. It's not just a case of we're losing someone who is fantastic in ring and has given us some fantastic in-ring moments just in Marigold I'm talking about here, never mind her wider career, but also her impact and the way that she is with those younger wrestlers. And again, Stu and Sonny, fantastic on commentary, and they actually brought up, obviously, we knew about how Sariyama Oka had been dealing with negative comments and things. She was injured. She didn't know if pro wrestling was for her, and it was Nanae who stopped up with her all night, talking her through it. I had no idea that it was her that spoke to Mirai as well and sort of rekindled that, for lack of a better word, passion. But that was something that was brought up on commentary as well. You look at the way that Kazuna Tanaka and Rhea Sato reacted. You don't react like that if someone is horrible backstage. You react like that because you are losing a locker room leader. You are losing, as Seri Yamaoka calls her, a passion mother. You're losing someone who is so ingrained in the very fabric of Marigold. And I'm hoping that obviously she will stay and, impart more knowledge. I know she'll be sticking around in terms of her moves because she seems to just be gifting them out willy-nilly, and I love that. Sari Yamaoka inheriting the refrigerator bomb, Miku Aono apparently inheriting the 1 second EX. I love that. I absolutely love that. And it's worth noting as well that Nanae Takahashi was supposed to retire because she actually, I believe it was Seedling. She was supposed to retire December 29th. I think 2022, maybe? I can't remember the exact date, but even then, she was talking about, and this was obviously when everything came out about her mental health, and her speaking now about that was fantastic. But she was saying then that her knees were in bits, like her legs, she can walk. And then she's carried on and, had these absolutely incredible matches. So the resilience there is truly unreal. And it, of course, she released her autobiography after this show as well. So if that ever gets translated into English, that's something definitely worth picking up. But I thought this was a fantastic celebration of a wonderful career of the living Joshi legend in Nanae Takahashi. And the attendance as well was reflective of how important she was. The attendance inside the Yoyogi National Gymnasium, number 2, was 2,450. It's the second highest attendance in Marigold's history. It's also the second highest attendance of the year in the venue, behind Sendai Girls' top of Joshi Pro Wrestling, and actually outdrew the New Japan Best of the Super Juniors show there on the 17th of May. It also outdrew Stardom's The Conversion show from last year, which drew 1,654 people and was main evented by Micah versus Xena for the World of Stardom Championship. So a really, really good number that I'm sure was a lot, if not mostly, to do with Nanae, but obviously you also had Mayu in a singles match going for a championship. You had the debut of Shinno, and you had the return of injury of Kouki Amare as well. So a really good number for Marigold for this pay-per-view. Results then: Shino's debut match, Mai Sakurai defeated the 16-year-old Shinno with an STF in 12 minutes and 33. Never has the phrase, but that doesn't tell you all the story, been more appropriate than that. 8-woman tag match, the Donna's Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Misa Matsui, Chiaki, and Megaton defeated Chan Yota, Arini Yamanaka, Ryoko Sakimura, and Nagisa Takibana, with Misa Matsui pinning Sakimura with a diving double foot stomp in 9 minutes and 27 seconds. Tag team action next. Kouki Amare returning from injury, 5.5 months out with a torn ACL. She would team with Kazuna Tanaka in a winning match against Chikagoto and Minami Yuki. Kouki Amare hitting Minami Yuki with the Amethyst Butterfly in 8 minutes and 58 seconds, with all the impact on her knee. It's worth pointing out. So absolutely insane. Marigold versus Marvelous 5-on-5 elimination tag team match. Team Marigold coming out on top. Natsumi Shozuki, Hummingbird, Naoya Ishikawa, Komomo Minami, and Rhea Sato defeating Team Marvelous, Magenta, Maria Enrico Kawahata, Ai Hozan, Sora Ayami, and Senka Akatsuki, with Rhea Sato, the sole survivor, if you will, defeating Ai Hozan with the Osoi suplex. In a singles match, Takumi Iroha defeated Seri Yamaoka with a modified go to sleep in 12 minutes and 33 seconds in what I humbly think is Seri Yamaoka's best singles performance. Truly, truly great performance. Marigold Superfly Championship, Mayu Iwatani defeated the champion Victoria Yuzuki with the triple jump moonsault in 9 minutes and 58 seconds to become the third ever Marigold Superfly champion. Marigold World Championship match next. Utami Hayashishita, the champion, defeating Mirai, the challenger, with a hijack bomb in 16 minutes and 12 seconds. And then in your main event, a Nanae Takahashi's retirement match. Miku Aono defeated Nanae Takahashi with the 1 second EX in 22 minutes and 4 seconds. We'll talk a little bit about the gauntlet in a moment, Matt. But first things first, we need to talk about the debut of Shinno, 16 years old. Now, before we get into anything, Sonny did mention on commentary that she is a sophomore in high school. Again, with me being British, I don't know what a sophomore is, but
that's your second. Yeah, that's your first year in high school. That's 9th grade. So that is a freshman. Sophomore is your second year, and then you have junior, and then you have senior. So usually at 16, you're a sophomore because you usually graduate at 18. Usually a senior at 18. So that makes sense. So after this year, school season's probably over. I know my nephews are done next week. So my guess is next year she's a junior. So yeah, 16 years old, sophomore in high school. I was washing dishes and getting my driver's license and reading Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Rob. So
you weren't dropping my Sakurai on her head then with a half hatch suplex.
no, I don't think I was.
It wasn't a half hatch, was it? It was a Norinagi.
Yeah. No, I don't think I was. I think I was doing backyard wrestling or basement wrestling at my grandparents' house when I was jumping off my couch on a Cousin Frank. A lot of Cousin Frank talk today. Maybe that's why he had a back surgery a month ago.
I was just going to say, you're the sole reason he had back surgery.
Put the heat on me, right?
Absolutely. But yeah, Sonny did mention that it would be a case of her wrestling around school. So when Marigold goes more south, she will be on those cards. And obviously, when the schools are out for holidays, she will be on those cards. But when schools are in, obviously, she's not going to be on those cards. This was an incredible debut. Like, good God. This girl came out screaming aura the moment she came in. You know, you've got her mum on commentary, Michiko Omakai. I'm literally lost for words as to how good this debut was. Not only because she had the basics down, but she had this flair that it takes wrestlers years to achieve. She's doing things that I didn't think were possible at 16 years old with no experience. Again, just the audacity to drop Mai Sakurai, the United National Champion, on her head with the Uranagi 2 minutes into your debut match. Unbelievable. And we got to see two sides of it as well. The sort of nervous explosion of energy in the first half of the match. And then we got to see the selling as Mai Sakurai slowly turned the screw in the second half of the match. This is about as perfect a debut as you could possibly have. Phenomenal work from Shinno. Really good work from Mai Sakurai to give her the amount she gave her without, it looking weak or anything like that. Overall, I thought this match was absolutely fantastic. And if this is a gaze into what we are getting with Shinno, my God, we have got a wrestling diamond here. Not the black diamond, because that's Rhea Sato, but we have uncovered a wrestling diamond here. And I mean, Michiko Omakai is in tears on commentary at the end of this match. I'm in tears at the end of this match. It's that good. Really, really excellent performance from a very, very special talent.
Rob, I'm going to be all over the place with this, but bear with me. I'm going to funnel it back down to this. You were pretty much right next to me after the at WrestleMania during the phenomenal three with Io, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair. And literally moments after the match was over, a buddy of mine who I used to work for in the Independents, and I haven't talked in quite some time, texted me, and he said that wrestling is in a golden era of Joshi and women's wrestling, not just in Japan, but in all over. And he said, you and Rob are doing the work, getting the word out there for women's pro wrestling and Joshi because of what's happening in WWE. You look at NXT, Raw, SmackDown, TNA, AEW. From what I understand, I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but the two women's matches from Double or Nothing were really, really good. Hopefully I'll be able to watch that tonight. And I was just thinking about this after this match. Again, I'm going to bring this all in. Last week on the Stardom cast, we talked about the 2 debuts of the 2 rookies there, how they were like probably the 2 best debuts I have seen since the last 4 years since I started covering Joshi. And there's been Seiya Yamaoka, there's been Miyu Amasaki, there's been Hanako, Rani Yagami. Now you're throwing this in. It's just like, okay, that's like 1, 2, and 3, and I don't know how to rank them. But the point I'm trying to make is you have all this great wrestling, women's wrestling happening in the United States, obviously in Japan and Joshi. They're crushing it. And now we have all these rookies that are coming up. Now, again, not only in Marigold, not only in Stardom. We look at like Chi-Chi's only wrestling like a year and a half. You have the rookies, Sanka. You have all the rookies over in Marvelous that we're able to see. You throw them in with the veterans of the Takumi Rojas, the Mayus, the Utamis, the Mirais, the Izumis, the Starlight Kids, the Sai Kamatanis, the Momo Watanabe, so on and so forth. So not only are they going to get better, but you're mixing them in with this roster. I was thinking about that text that my buddy sent me again right after the Mayu or the EO match. It's like, wow, this is like the best era for Joshi or women's wrestling we have seen maybe ever. And obviously, I know in the 90s with All Japan Women's, it was huge. But in the 90s, we didn't have much over here in the States. Now it's a completely different level. It's a completely different level now because of how great wrestling is worldwide women's wrestling, which is awesome to see, Now you're throwing this in. Like I said, we literally probably saw the 3 best Joshi debuts in the 2 companies that we are so grateful to be able to call literally within 7, 8 days of each other. And again, there's been some great ones. I thought Sari Omioka, again, that's just my opinion. Sari with Mirai was great. Again, Rani Yagami, Hanako, Miyu from a couple years ago. They've all been great, but we've seen 3 great ones. And I saw somebody put on social media the other day, what's in the water in Japan that they're feeding the Joshis? That these wrestlers, they're so good. So good. Ann Kanai, we know she's on the shelf, but I mean, terrific as well. And you're mixing it in with these phenomenal next level wrestlers that, yeah, I mean, we are literally in the golden era, the next golden era for not only Joshi wrestling, but women's wrestling. The fact that we get to talk about it and, kind of break it down, it's awesome. It's awesome. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Now I'm going to funnel into this match. Yeah, this was great. And this was kind of the one because I was kind of like, it's a big show you're having. Mai Sakurai is probably the most improved wrestler, in my opinion, in all of wrestling over the last 12 or 14 months. Maybe the person that has benefited the most from leaving Stardom and going over to Marigold because she's been able to reinvent herself and do it in such a way that you buy her as a main eventer, putting butts in seats, pay-per-view subscriptions, the whole 9. Just a great wrestler, doing a great job as your United National Champion. I'm like, okay, so she's wrestling a rookie on this big show, non-champion, not for the title. Okay, let's see how this works out. And within about 45 seconds, I'm like, okay, I'm in. This is great. Sakurai does a great job taking a rookie in her first match, 16 years old, and has an absolute banger must-see that everybody is so excited for. You're absolutely right. The fact that, like, whose idea was it for again, in a kayfabe aspect, Sakurai is the second best wrestler in this company because she's holding the second biggest belt. That's just like, I'm going to have the 16-year-old rookie in her debut match 3 minutes in, drop me on my head. Like, whoever called that, it was gutsy and it paid off because you're just like, okay, now I'm really in. Because again, it's match 1. You're hyped up. You're excited. 2,500 people, big show. And now we're starting out with that. And it's just blitzing back and forth. There was great psychology. Sakurai was able to slow things down to a certain point and then bring it back up. Knew what to do, when to do. Again, another reason why Sakurai is one of the most improved, one of my favorite wrestlers in all of wrestling over the last year and change. Again, just really great fire from Shinno, knowing when to fire back, and Sakurai selling, bumping and feeding. Though ultimately, she's able to hit a huge backdrop suplex into the STK, into the SDF for the tap out. You're absolutely right, buddy. You can't get much better of a debut match. And again, a great way, because it's a gamble, a great way to start off this show. Horacio Garo gambled and absolutely hit a home run here. 4 stars for me. A great way to start off the show. This was one of my favorite matches, as we're going to get into. One of my favorite matches this entire show, which is saying something for how loaded the show was.
Yeah, again, you want to start your card with the hottest match you possibly can, and outside of the title matches, the intrigue surrounding the debut of Shinno and the anticipation regarding the fact that she's been billed as another super rookie. She's got a mother who is, very well regarded in terms of Joshi, former Queen of ASEAN champion, Twin Star of Arcean champion as well. We know that she is very, very talented, and her daughter has come in. What's this going to be like? And that intrigue is going to lead to a hot match. And again, 45 seconds in, as you mentioned, it was very, very clear that we had a very, very, very special talent on our hands. The fact that she is only 16 is a little bit sickening, because just how talented she is at such a young age, and I'm here at 35, absolutely nowhere near that good at anything in my
Handsome as
life.
ever.
So,
Handsome as ever,
stop
buddy.
it,
I think you have better hair. As I'm looking here as I'm looking here, I think you have better hair than her. Folks, let us
I
know in the
genuinely
comment
don't think
section.
so.
I
I'm
tell
looking
you
at it. I
what.
don't think I
I
do.
tell you what. That's a good debate. And you know who should end that debate? The fans. Folks, in the comment section below, who has better hair? Who has better hair? And we'll tally
Shinno,
up
without a shadow of a doubt.
tally it up below, and then we'll get the poll results next week. Another reason to tune in next week's show.
Moving on to the 8-woman tag, then Chan Yota, Rina Yamanaka, Ryoko Sakimura, and Nagisa Takibana versus the Darkness Revolution. We've already sort of touched on this in a way, Matt, simply because we were talking about the fact that Megaton seems to be being eased out of the Darkness Revolution. It was announced at the press conference that should she get pinned, she would be leaving Darkness Revolution. Didn't seem to matter that Darkness Revolution ended up winning, because Misa Matsui was not happy with the fact that Megaton almost cost her the match.
Yeah, a few times there was a couple, kerfuffles there. And Sunny and Stu did such a great job building it in that if she loses, she's out. I'm like, oh, she's totally losing. And then I'm like, hey, you want to get Misa a win here on this big show, because clearly like she's going to be the project to build towards the end of spring, beginning of summer, and rightfully so. So it's like you didn't know which way it was going to go. Ultimately, I think they did the right thing, getting Misa the win there, but they did plant the seeds. And you're right, we talked about it earlier, for the Megaton babyface turn, the Mega babyface turn. See what I did there, folks? Again, good. Chan Yota was great here. Ryoko, Nagisa, they're terrific, and they're terrific together. I would love to see them have a program with Celine Flora, because I think with all that young, aspiring talent, I think you're going to get some really, really good tag team bangers. As far as Arena goes, she's really good. Presence, excellent. I like to see her on, and I know she owns like a yoga studio or several, so she has her toes dipped in other businesses, which is great. Entrepreneur spirit, I'm all for that. But I'd like to see her on just about every Marigold show going forward, because she's going to get better and more familiar with the Marigold audience. You put her in matches with Mayu, with Mirai, with Utami. She's only going to get better. Plus, you're going to acclimate her a little bit more with the Marigold roster. So again, I know she's busy because she's got that side project, which is great. But I would like to see her on more Marigold shows so that the audience can get better acquainted with her. And then she's only going to get better having reps with an absolute phenomenal roster that's second to none. As far as this match goes, though, the storyline was there, made sense. 9 minutes for everybody to kind of get some stuff in. But it was all about planting the seeds for the Megaton babyface turn, but ultimately getting Misa Matsui a win with a brutal double stomp, my man. Saw enough stuff for me, 3.5 stars.
Yeah, it will perhaps be the biggest babyface turn in wrestling history, and I only hope that it happens on the stage it deserves, and that is clearly the Tokyo Dome. Moving on to Kouki Amare's return, as we mentioned earlier, hearing Kouki Amare's theme again, it was enough for me. I was like, oh, thank God for that. I've missed Kouki, and again, we mentioned before that the injury to Kouki came at, it's never a good time to get an injury like that. Tearing an ACL is always an absolutely horrible injury to have. But to happen at the time where she was seemingly on top of the world was awful, awful timing. So great to see her back. Great to see her back in the ring, across the ring from Chika Goto. We're not forgetting that feud. A lot of passion from Chika Goto. Kazuna, exactly, passion. Kazuna Tanaka was in there as well, doing what she does best. Ultimately, yes, there was a little bit of ring rust, which, as we mentioned before, I think is to be expected. Coming back from an injury like that, and training is completely different than, wrestling in an actual match. And again, I've never wrestled. I'm comparing this to football. Training and playing well is completely different to a match and playing well. There's a litany of different factors. ultimately, yeah, there was a couple of moments where, a little bit of lack of communication, a little bit of ring rust. I don't care, to be perfectly honest. I'm not judging this on the fact that there is a couple of moments of miscommunication. I'm judging on the fact that Kouki Amore is back. She is seemingly healthy. Fingers crossed. She is, she's ready to go. I'm just happy to see her back, smiling in the middle of a ring and appearing to be very, very happy out there. So all of the rest of it will come. I'm not bothered about that. I'm just happy that she's back. And she got her moment as well. That's what I'm really, really happy about.
Yeah, again, I touched upon it. You just touched upon a partner about possible ring rust or mistiming, so I'm not going to delve into that. I'm going to delve into what I thought was the best part of this match, and maybe just me because I'm a massive Kazuna Tanaka fan. With a little bit of bumps in the road and a little bit of the mistiming, Kazuna Tanaka, who hasn't been wrestling that long, is only 19 or 20 years old, was able to start covering things up. Was able to be like, okay, and I thought that was great, and that shows that's like something that a ring veteran, 6, 7, 8 years knows how to do because Una Tanaka realized there was a couple things off, no problem. She kept the match on course and was able to hide certain things and accentuate certain things as well, which again, for someone that young in life and that young and wrestling in her wrestling career, the fact that she knew how to do that on the fly is just another feather in the cap of the fantastic wrestler that is Kazuna Tanaka. Again, Manami Yuki, we kind of figured she'd be eating the fall here. Again, they built her up enough ultimately for her to hit the amethyst butterfly. But another thing that they built up is just that tension with Kouki Amore and Chikagoto. And we got just a little bit here. Just a little bit here. Again, solid enough stuff. Again, all the credit in the world for Kazuna Tanaka being able to cover everything up and keep everything, at least from when I was sitting. That's the way that I saw it. And you're absolutely right. And again, a lot of credit to Kazuna Tanaka for being able to do that. A lot of credit for Kouki Amore coming back from an injury that should take you about a year to recover, doing it in 5 months. So 3.25 stars for me, my friend. And just glad to see a one Kouki Amore back and coming back at a time literally perfect. As you mentioned before, there's never a good time to get injured. And that was a horrible time to get injured because she was on top of the world. But now she's back. And look at all the other wrestlers that are developing. Look at these super rookies we have. We're in a feud with Marvelous. And she has a match coming up next Monday with Takumi Iroha on the fact that Mayu Utami is at the company as well. I'm sure that doesn't hurt. Sure, that doesn't hurt, buddy. 3.25 stars for me.
And as well, we are missing Nanae Takahashi. Like, it is worth pointing that out. Someone who is a shoo-in at the top of the card. Kouki Amore is going to be someone that I am absolutely positive Marigold are going to want to push up into that main event scene as soon as possible again. As soon as she is, 100% fit, 100% ready to go. All the ring rust's gone. I think she's teaming with Utami on the Burning Desire tour. I'm sure it is her and Utami. Oh, hang on. Her and Utami against Mai Sakurai and Chan Yota. So, exactly. And I believe that's on the second day of the tour. So that's going to be really exciting. Again, Kouki Amore has a lot of upside. We knew there was going to be ring rust. There would be ring rust on anyone after 5.5 months out. No one is coming out on buying 1,000.
Especially a knee injury too. It's one thing if it's a shoulder injury, you can kind of be able to like run the ropes a little, or at least get cardio. But a knee injury, you can't do much on. You can't.
Can we just talk about the fact that she hit the amethyst butterfly, like where you are landing on your knees to win this match? Like,
it's got to be in your head too, Rob. That's the thing. It's a psychological thing. It's got to be in your head that like you're landing, you're literally twisting your body 180 degrees, and then you're coming down on said knee that you haven't been able to walk on in 5 months. That's guts. That's guts.
I have nothing but respect for her for that. I really, really don't. So yeah, I'm
really
glad to see her back.
You said you don't. You mean you do?
I do. Yeah, I do mean that.
I do mean that. Attention. I see.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Moving on then, Marvelous versus Marigold. And I incorrectly assumed that Natsumi Shozuki would be the sort of the cornerstone of this in regards to Marigold. And I couldn't have been more wrong because not only had we got Naomi Ishikawa, who, again, incredibly over, great to see her just as Naomi Ishikawa getting the reactions, wrestling as that underdog baby face, and I thought her exchanges with Sora were brilliant, and with Senka later on as well. But it was Ryo Saito. Ryo Saito was given that moment to get the winning fall over Ai Hozan. Brand new entrance gear, brand new nickname, the Black Diamond. Very simple, very stylish. I like it. And we've been talking on and on the Marigold Standard about how much she's improved. And it seems that she's being given the accolades for this improvement. You know, there's a reason she was the one that got the definitive pinfall over Ai Hozan and not a Natsumi or not a Hummingbird or not a Nao Ishikawa. Marigold needed to win this match. We both said they needed to win this match. Different rules to the one in Korakuen Hall, which was wrestled more as a gauntlet. This was more of a traditional elimination 10-woman tag. It seems that we might be heading towards Magenta versus Natsumi Shozuki and Nao Ishikawa for the Twin Star Championships. Obviously, all four of those women were eliminated because it was over the top rope eliminations as well as pinfall and submission. And Natsumi Shozuki and Nao Ishikawa sort of risked themselves in order to eliminate Magenta at the same time. So it seems that that might be somewhere we went. And I know that obviously Natsumi Shozuki and Maria went to a time limit draw at Korakuen when we did this last time. So it makes sense. Senka Akatsuki, though, man, like, we talk about future stars. Ria Sato is great, and she's going to be really, really good in future. I cannot wait. Genuinely, just the improvement. Kamoma Minami, we've already talked about. She's got her homecoming show, by the way, on Saturday, which I'm really looking forward to. Natsumi Shozuki's great. Nao Ishikawa, we talked about as this underdog babyface, but Senka Akatsuki, there's something about her. There really is. And it's, I mean, I know we talk about the shoot pinfalls and stuff like that, but it's so much more than that. There is an aura around her. And to be a rookie and to have that is very, very, very rare. I mean, we've talked about it with Shinno as well. And you talked about it. We seem to be coming into something of a golden age in terms of rookies. And Senka is right at the top of that. I thought she was fantastic here in a losing effort.
Rob, we'll get to the match in a minute. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're absolutely right about this this render with Natsumi Shozuki. And maybe just
very blue.
Maybe this the Italian in me and the old school Frank Sinatra fan that I am, but his name was Old Blue Eyes. So maybe that's what we should refer to Natsumi Shozuki as.
There you
Natsumi,
go.
Old Blue Eyes Shozuki Sinatra. So fly me to the moon. Kick me to the moon for Natsumi. This match you're able to do a lot in. Obviously, we knew we were going to get that long gauntlet match that we did in Korakuen Hall because of the timing, and we had, you know, your three big main events, but you got a lot of your mid card and underneath talent over in one match. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. I think one of the main things coming out of this match is Magenta versus Natsumi and Nao Ishikawa. I think that's a great V1 for Magenta or V2 if that's the way they go with it. I think that would be terrific. Again, it's great seeing Nao Ishikawa. The Gigaton stuff is funny, but I'd rather see her as Nao Ishikawa. I think everybody really, really would. And again, she was terrific here. Hummingbird stuff. Again, Rob, we put it out there. Here it is, big match, pay-per-view. She's the first one pinned. So it's like, you know, the curse, the curse continues.
The curse is real, man. The curse is real.
I'll get into Ria Sato in a moment because obviously this match was, from my opinion, what got over in this match is you set up your next tag challengers, and again, great job getting rid of 4 people all in one shot, but not doing it just to do it. You did it with some steam because they had some really good stuff back and forth. Ultimately, the 4 of them get eliminated. There's your ready, make sure V1 of the Twin Star Championship match, which I want to see because that's going to be a great match and it makes sense. I want to talk about Ai Hozan because I've only seen a little bit of her before. Obviously, we did see her at the Marvelous show in Vegas. We saw her at some of these other matches with Marvelous and Marigold. She was great. And considering the fact that if I was booking this, I would have had maybe Senka and Rhea towards the finish because there's a lot of steam on Senka. And she and we'll get into it. She over-passioned Nanae towards the end of the on that gauntlet where she kept getting in her face. Really and Nanae's like, all right, somebody get this girl decaf. Holy jeez, get her off the Red Bull, which makes her so great. She's fantastic. But they went with Ai Hozan here, and she had a great closing segment with Ria Sato. Mm-hmm. And again, the fact that Marvelous is on Wrestle Universe now, that's some Ai Hozan match or something I'm definitely going to be watching out for. But they did a great job knowing we're going to have Ria Sato be the sole survivor here, basically getting more points on the board for Marigold in this great feud they're having with Marvelous. What did you do? New look. They gave her the nickname the Black Diamond. Again, Sonny and Stu, phenomenal on commentary. Phenomenal adding that in. Hey, new nickname, the Black Diamond. how do we not know she was going to be the sole survivor? Because they
Exactly.
it's like, how did we not see? They telegraphed her for us, and rightfully so, because they put all this stock into her, and rightfully so, because you put all the stock in, and then you cash out. Who wins? Rhea Sato. Not only that, she was the MVP of this match, and the crowd believed in her. They were chanting her name. 2,500 people were chanting her name towards the end of this match. Made sense. Everybody got over. Again, you have solidified your next tag team championship match in this match, and you got Rhea Sato over as somebody you're going to push towards the end of the year, which I am all for. When we talked about it, you said a little bit ago, partner, you can't push everybody at the same time. I don't see Rhea Sato winning a singles championship at the end of this year. However, you can have her as basically the flag bearer and the flag waver in this feud with Marigold versus Marvelous. If that's the main thing you're gonna do at Rhea Sato, let's have her wrestle every single one of these members of Marvelous, and ultimately maybe a big match at the end of the year with Takumi Iroha. I think that would be great. There's a lot you can do with her. I'm really excited to see the future for Rhea Sato, and they did a great job building her up. Ultimately, this entire segment for me, brother, was 4 stars. This did it for me. I was really excited to see what they're going to come out with more matches and rivalries of Marvelous versus Marigold.
Yeah, especially as Marigold are still winning the feud, and that's obviously what we're going to talk about next with the singles match between Sari Yamaoka and Takumi Iroha. We talked about how Sari Yamaoka did some of her best work in that Passion Countdown match with Nanae, and how everything seemed to come together. We knew she was great in the ring, but how, it's those little intangibles. And it started to come together in that Nanae match. And I think we saw another culmination of it here, because she was fantastic. Really, really, really worked tremendously well against a cold-blooded killer in Takumi Iroha.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if you had more to say, buddy.
No, I hiccuped at the same time, and I thought I'd just let you go.
I didn't want to be rude, but this match to me made sense. Like, this was a lot of, it was like 70, 75% Takumi Iroha. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because she's the ace and Sari's the rookie. So it was a lot of Takumi just using the experience, using the strikes. Again, I mentioned this last week on our preview. This is the grappler versus the striker. And it's Takumi using the strikes to really batter Sari. Sari does come back, though, with a great double leg, showing fire, showing passion, for lack of a better word, fighting spirit, which I love. And there's one spot where she has her in the leg lace and then puts on an ankle lock and really bends Takumi's knee and her ankle back. So not only was it an ankle lock, it was almost like a makeshift knee bar as well, like a double submission all in one thing, which is great to see somebody at the age of 18 that can do that. They can put 2 submissions on at once. And Takumi did a great job selling for it and looking like it was like, even though I was kind of dominating this match, it only takes 1 or 2 moves for this match to turn around, or I might even lose here. She did a great job selling panic. She did a great job putting Sari over in certain submissions, but ultimately it was Takumi just blitzing her back. And then basically, yeah, she hit I think it's almost like the Zoe Stark finisher, like the Zoe 360, where she picked her up and flipped her and then just kneed her right in the face. I was like, ooh, I don't know if we've ever seen Takumi do that before. We all know her main finisher is either the Swanton Bon or the Running 3, but that was something different, something added to the match. I had this at 3 3/4 stars. It was a really good match. I understood why Takumi really had to batter Sari here, because again, Takumi's the ace and Sari's kind of just like your big prodigy rookie. And then ultimately, Takumi kind of getting not a squash win, but it was very dominant. Again, Sari and her offense, even though it was kind of few and far between, it was really good. It made sense. It showed great fire. She did a great job selling. Takumi did a great job putting everything Sari did over. But then we understood why after the Utami Mirai match, which we'll get into. Why? excuse me. Now you got me going. Why she looks so dominant in said match. 3 3/4 stars. I would love to see this one run back in 6 months in a year from now when Sari has more experience and we're exposing Takumi more to the Marigold audience.
Do you know what? I don't care. The fact that Sari lost, I think we knew Sari was going to lose, and I think we knew that Sari was going to lose relatively handily against the ace of Marvel, as someone who was, as Sonny pointed out, has been in this position back in 2013 in Stardom and has been in that position again under Chigusa Nagao in Marvelous. What I was interested to see here was, how is Sari Yamaoka going to do on the back foot? Am I going to believe the passion, the fighting spirit in there? And I did. It was how she lost. And again, it's that, it's a tale as old as time. How is she going to lose? And she lost in the perfect way, showed that fire, showed that grit, showed that determination, showed almost that fearlessness in the face of certain damage from Takumi Iroha, because some of those kicks, goodness gracious me. But again, Sari wasn't scared the entire way through. She took it to Takumi at the start. And when the end was nigh, I thought Sari did a very, very good job. And like I said before, we know that Sari is good in ring because of the amateur background. It's those intangibles that I want to see her improve. And I thought she did it in spades here. I thought between this and her Passion Countdown match, all of it is tying together. And her and Shinno, by the way, are teaming together on the Burning Desire tour the first night. So I'm really excited to see those two work together. Really excited. And Sari Yamaoka improving every time she's in the ring. Really, really excited to see what's next for her. Moving on then, Victoria Yuzuki versus Mayu Iwatani, not Maya Iwatani as it was incorrectly put out when they first did the graphics, but she's here, Mayu Iwatani against Victoria Yuzuki. And what I like is during the press conference, Mayu made a note that Victoria Yuzuki was stealing her moves somewhat, and Yuzuki sort of laughed it off again. I didn't even know I was stealing your moves. I was just sort of doing moves clearly inspired by you. And it wasn't like a stop stealing my moves. It was very much a case of like, oh, I've noticed that you're stealing my moves. And then Mayu, how does she win? By just making a point. By beating Victoria Yuzuki with the triple jump moonsault that Victoria Yuzuki has been using. Possibly the one move that Victoria Yuzuki hasn't just absolutely ripped off from Mayu, in storyline anyway. I thought this was great. We do need to talk about Victoria Yuzuki's hair, because that was about as elaborate a hairstyle as I've ever seen for a pay-per-view. And I cannot even fathom how long it would have taken to A, put that hairstyle together, and B, how long it would take to get it out. Because I imagine that hair took absolutely ages to get out of all of the different braids, the different colors, the different like French plaits and all that. Just an incredible work of art from Victoria Yuzuki, who does, to be fair, really, really pull it out of the bag for the pay-per-views. I remember the French plait heart that she had on the side of her head, which was really cool a couple of weeks ago. But this was fantastic. We knew it would be, and Mayu summed it up herself. Like, this is a year and a half, and you're as good as you are. This is incredible. And there's a story here where Mayu, she's not quite, well, Victoria Yuzuki isn't quite ready to surpass Mayu yet. And we saw it with the likes of Starlight Kid in Stardom. It's very much that sort of style. And at the moment, Victoria Yuzuki is still the Padawan to Mayu Iwatani, if a Star Wars reference. There will be a point where Victoria Yuzuki usurps Mayu. And I said on the preview that I want, when Mayu Iwatani calls it time on what will be a phenomenal career, I want Victoria Yuzuki to be in that singles match. And I want Victoria Yuzuki to be the one to retire Mayu. And I don't want Victoria Yuzuki to defeat Mayu until that moment, because that's the story here. Victoria Yuzuki wants to surpass the icon, wants to surpass the legend, her mentor. At the moment, she's still a tutie under her tutor, but that moment will come. And I thought she did a tremendous job here. Even if Mayu Iwatani ended up with a nosebleed within about 30 seconds of this. I don't know the exact spot where she ended up being bust open, but she was. These two were really well. It was a proper old school high speed wrestling match. And Stu Fulton said, like, this is Mayu going back to her roots, the high speed roots. And I quite like that. But Mayu Iwatani put Victoria Yuzuki over huge at the end when basically she said, I want you to carry on teaming with me. And I do wonder if that serves two purposes. Obviously, we then get Victoria Yuzuki and Mayu Iwatani in a ring together, which is great. But also it frees up Utami to then team again with Kouki Amare, which was the team obviously before Kouki got injured. So again, phenomenal match, really good Superfly Championship match, the best in its short lineage, I think it's fair to say. These two worked phenomenally well together, Matt.
Yeah, I just want to touch upon how obviously Victoria Yuzuki is the official member of the unofficial group King's Journey, led by Utami Hayashishita, and now Mayu is basically trying to court Victoria Yuzuki for her unnamed
That is
faction.
true.
Rings a bell from a year and change ago. After Victoria Yuki's first two matches, it looked like she was going to go to Queen's Quest, led by Utami Hayashishita, but where did she go? Stars, led by Mayu. So, I mean, it's, copy an A, get an A, buddy, right? That's just
Absolutely.
I've seen this played out before. All joking aside, this was a great match. Not only great match, we had big theme Mayu, championship theme Mayu, great mask. Great mask. She had the Marigold logo on the back of her jacket, which I thought was great. Victoria Yuzuki with the mask looked like $1,000,000. I love the hair. There were some people who thought that she overdid it. I'm like, no, I thought she looked like a star or a star in the making.
Yep.
And that's what this match was. Do I think they have a better match in them? Yes. Do I think they're going to have 5-star matches over the next few years? Absolutely. I have like Mayu EO vibes to these two with
Could
Victoria,
be, yeah, definitely.
with Yuzuki being Mayu, and Mayu being EO. I mean, that's the vibes that I get. I think these two can have absolute banger matches. What's eventually, once Mayu did surpass EO, it was, it was the sky's the limit for Mayu, and that could be Yuzuki in 2 or 3 years. Really terrific match. Yuzuki did really bring it with Mayu. Mayu bringing it back with them kind of going back and forth with the same moves, because again, that was the storyline. Is Mayu was not mad, but kind of like, I see you kind of taking my moves. And then Victoria Yuzuki, who does the super crazy, the 3 moonsaults, she tries to do it towards the end of this match. Mayu gets the knees up, kind of go back and forth with some great falsy. There was a great falsy that I bid on because I was like 90% sure
The
Mayu
rolling arrow.
Yeah, I was 90% sure that Mayu was winning this match, but then Yuzuki gets out of the 2-step dragon and does the rolling arrow. Again, great job with it. Great job from the referee. Great job with Mayu really kicking like, I can't get out into the last possible second. But ultimately, it is, like I said, the super crazies, 3 moonsaults in a row, bottom rope, second rope, third rope, that does Victoria Yuzuki in 4.25 stars. This was a solid show, but from here on out, Rob, this becomes the Marigold show of the year because this was great and only gets better and hard-hitting and emotional from here.
Yeah, what I liked was, as well, again, as I mentioned before, this isn't a case of Mayu being annoyed that Victoria Yuzuki is stealing her moves. It's very much a case of Victoria Yuzuki is openly inspired by Mayu and has made that her whole, she's made it very clear that that's what's happening. To the point where when she was being interviewed and it was Hype Talk TV and they said, well, who are your dream matches? And she was like, someone that's coming, but I can't tell you who. And it was like, okay, it's Mayu then. But it was, I do like the fact that Victoria Yuzuki is so openly inspired by Mayu when we are going to get this icon versus future icon storyline. And you're absolutely right. You could almost completely rip off your own storyline and do the EO and Mayu thing with Victoria Yuzuki and Mayu. And it works because you've still got Mayu in the picture, but she's in the complete other role than she was before. And I think that would benefit Victoria Yuzuki hugely. Absolutely hugely. A
And that
great
was
match.
7 years ago too, Rob. It's not like, even if they do it, it's just like, well, you're recycling. I mean, that storyline happened 6-7 years ago, and social media being completely different, it would 100% work, and it would make sense. And ultimately, who's going to benefit the most from it? Victoria Yuzuki. Victoria Yuzuki has more years ahead of her than Mayu does. I don't think that's a hot take, but you know what I mean. Especially with Mayu, going to NXT over the next 3 or 4 months.
But again. But yeah, like, again, even if it's even if it was only 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it doesn't matter because you've still got Mayu in the storyline, and it's a development for Mayu as much as it is for Victoria Yuzuki. And the fact that we now have this race to see who can become the Grand Slam champion first, I love that. I really do. And I don't know who's going to win because I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's going to be a great journey. We're going to see a tremendous amount of growth from Victoria Yuzuki in that time. Really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. We then moved on to the semi-main event, Marigold World Title match, Utami Hayashishita versus Mirai. And the moment Mirai came out, brand new gear, makeup done, hair up, I knew we were in for. I knew Utami was in for a battle. She was in for a fight, and Mirai made it very, very clear that she was not to be trifled with. And good God, Matt Turner, was she not to be trifled with during that?
None of that. As much as I love Mayu's robe, Utami has the robe of the night with the rose on the
The
back. And I'm
big
like, oh
rose.
my goodness, whoever developed that, first of all, not only whoever's idea it was, and then to come off as well as it did, like, that's next level stuff. That was amazing. You're making Utami your massive star with aura, even have more aura, which I thought was great. You're right. And you're right. Mariah looked like $1,000,000 here. This match, like the way that it's been built over the past few weeks, we know that this match can end at any time with one of those Mirai lariats, or if Utami starts building a head of steam and is able to, go back to back on the torture rack bomb and the hijack bomb. So it's like you knew that going in. And this match was like a 1970s, 1980s NWA championship match where it's just like, okay, we've seen the preview tags leading up, but let's slow it down, grind it down, bring it up, bring it back, bring it up, bring it back. Have great psychology, great storytelling, because you don't want to have anybody make a mistake, is what I'm trying to say between those old, and I mean that in a compliment in the best way. The Harley Races, the Briscoes, the Funk, the Flairs, the Steamboats, some of the greatest wrestlers of all time. I had that feeling going into this match because Mirai doesn't want to make a mistake. Utami doesn't want to make a mistake because in these tag matches leading up, they all made mistakes, or they made mistakes, and ultimately they wind up looking up at the lights, eating the pinfall. Well, this is the culmination of all those matches. So you have your build up, and then eventually the feeling out process gets over, Rob, and they start wailing into each other. The drop kicks, the forearms, the lariats attempts, the great stuff back and forth. The really great job building up that Mariah lariat for Utami, only for her to be able to come up with that fighting spirit, with that resilience, with that her power, her strength, her showing how important this championship match is. Ultimately, the belt gets over the most in this match because that's what you want, because Utami eats everything that Mirai has. Mirai eats everything that Utami has, but ultimately, it's just Utami just wants it more. She wants to walk out as champion more, and that's what you want in your big championship match. You want to elevate the belt, and not only does it elevate the belt, you're elevating your champion and your challenger. And I know we have a lot of diehard Mirai fans that listen to this podcast that wanted Mirai to come out of this championship match, this match as champion. Ultimately, though, even in a loss, you built her back up more. And again, my guess is I think she's the one to dethrone Sakurai and give her that big year-plus run as the United National Champion, because I think that's the way to go. And this match showcased what Mirai can do in a main event spot, having great matches, drawing a great crowd. And obviously, Utami's Utami. She's one of one. There's not many people in pro wrestling that is on her level in every aspect of pro wrestling. This was a great red belt match. Utami on another level, buddy. 4.5 stars. This was terrific. We knew it was going to be good, and we got a damn great match from two great professional wrestlers.
Following the match, Utami Hayashishita actually calls out Takumi Aroa, as we mentioned, and Utami was so unserious in some of those facial expressions. She was so overly emotive. It was great. Just proper over the top. It was great. It is something of a dream match again that we haven't seen since 2021. Utami versus Takumi Aroha, which even the most ardent hater of Joshi would be excited to see. It's not going to happen instantly, as Takumi Aroha mentions. Yes, absolutely, I'll challenge you for the red belt, but I've got something I need to do first. We now know that it's challenge for the GAC women's title. We didn't at the time, but obviously with Monday Magic just in the bag, we now know that was what was happening. But it does mean that we've got Utami versus Takumi Aroha in that back pocket for a Corrigan Hall potentially. And again, that's going to do gangbuster numbers, because that's a really, really exciting match to have. That being said, Matt, this may have been slated as the main event. This was the main event. Mm-hmm. Nanae Takahashi versus Miku Aono. And words fail me. Now, for a multitude of reasons, I think this was about as perfect a retirement as we've ever seen. And I'm not just talking about the way this match finished, with Miku Aono using Nanae's own move, clearly bequeathed to her by Nanae. And if that's the way Nanae lives on through Miku, I'm absolutely fine with that. I think that's great, using the 1 second EX. the way this match was done, from Nanae sort of stumbling in the ring when Miku was throwing her into the ropes, those absolutely ridiculously hard kicks that Miku Aono was throwing, training with Yumiko Hata, by the way, who was mentioned here against Nanae, will come out in that gauntlet match. The way she went around the entire arena with the passion singing, and you could see it getting emotional, and the crowd are getting emotional. The entire 2,400 plus people in Yoyogi chanting passion. The incredible work that both Wrestle Universe and Marigold have done on those video packages, going through the whole of Nanae's career and the people that she's been with, the people that she's wrestled, seeing the flowers that were sent by the likes of Io Sky, Kairi Sane, all these different people that have been pivotal in Nanae's career. We need to watch that Cage of Death match, by the way, from All Japan 100%. Looks incredible, which was from this venue, by the way.
Wait, time out. What's the Cage of Death match that we're watching? I'm intrigued.
I don't know if it was called Cage of Death. I think it was called just a steel cage match, but it was an All Japan women's match from Yoyogi, which Nanae was a part of, and it was advertised during the video package.
Oh,
so,
okay. I did see that. Yeah, I was like, Cage of Death, like CZW back in the day.
Not,
like, oh man,
not CZW. Nanae didn't have a spell in CZW, although that would be awesome. Like, oh my god. But just everything about this match screamed special. The ending was perfect. I know that obviously we've talked about, right, Nanae's not put anyone over on this Passion Countdown. There's clearly a reason for that, because Miku Aono, despite it being said to us, actually, Julia was supposed to be the person penciled in for this. I think Miku Aono was so much a better choice than Julia, someone who needed it more, someone who will thrive with that, someone who feels like a legitimate, cemented person at the top of the card, a star at the top of the card, someone who's been given the blessing of Nanae as she goes off into the sunset, having lost very few singles matches in her Marigold career. And when you think about on this retirement road, who has she lost to in singles competition? Mayu and Miku Aono. It's good company to be in when there's only you and Mayu to do something. I thought everything about this match was done perfectly. It really was. And that crowning moment of Miku getting the pinfall with the 1 second EX, beautifully done.
I always say when there's always intangibles, that makes a great match even better. The crowd atmosphere, the referee, because some of those near falls, and I made mention, I was like, I think Miku Aono should win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Nanae wins. And that really played into a lot of the falses, because I didn't know which way it was going to go. And again, Sonny and Stu, they added so much to a great match, so much to a great package. As far as this whole entire, as I'm just going to give a rating on the whole segment. It's one thing bell to bell, which is my favorite part of wrestling, bell to bell. But you take in the pageantry, the respect, the love shown for Nanae, and then you throw into the gauntlet and everybody saying their farewells. This whole segment is 5 stars. It's must see TV.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's must see TV. It's emotion. It's Nanae passing the torch to Miku Aono. And you mentioned before that it was highly rumored that it was supposed to be Julia. The Julia match would have drawn more eyes, obviously, because she's a massive star in the biggest wrestling company in the world. However, in the long run, if Julia goes over in a night, Julia's going back over to WWE, right? She's going back to the big dogs, which again, we'll get into her gaze at Julia at the end here. But ultimately, that doesn't do anything for anybody in Marigold. It's your one-off. It's a great match. Yeah. It'll be a great segment. Miku Aono is your main. She's a ready-made main eventer. Whether she wins the Dream Star or not, it doesn't matter, because she's a ready-made main eventer, and everybody wants to see her. Not only does she defeat Nanae on her way out, she does it in front of about 2,500 people that most people had this as their match of the show, which is saying something considering the fact how good the other two championship matches were. She's the MVP of this show, and Nanae makes sure that. She makes sure when she passes the torch, she did business right by Miku Aono here. Not only with a great match, not only the fact that they're going back and forth, Miku Aono hitting not 1 but 2 styles clashes. I'm like, geez, what's it going to take? Nanae hitting the Queen Bee bomb, the refrigerator bomb. I mean, just the forearms, the kicks, the great back and forth, which you did not know the way this was going to go. Again, that's a staple of Nanae Takahashi's big time matches. And again, it reminds me a lot of those All Japan Championship matches back in the 90s, except those matches went like 45, 50 minutes, which is still crazy. And this one still told that story in roughly 22 minutes, which is just a credit to these two great athletes. Ultimately, is Miku Aono using the 1 second EX to put away Nanae again. Now we can buy that as a finish from Miku Aono. Add that to her repertoire. Makes sense. None of that, Rob, but the way she set it up, those few kicks at the end were like, oh, geez. Yikes. Like, even I think Utami and Mirai were in the back watching, like, oh, calm down, girl. It's a work. Like, holy jeez. Like,
she literally kicked the passion out of Nanae.
When you're right, it's crazy, especially the build-up with the lariats of Utami and Mirai. And as crazy as hard-hitting they were, I do have to say the one strike that was the hardest hitting was those last 1 or 2 buzzsaw kicks. You're right.
Kicks.
Yeah, she kicked the passion out. That's a great segment. Our great call there, partner. Yeah, again, this was great. This is probably my favorite Marigold match of this year. And probably other than Utami and Io and Utami and Sari, my favorite match in the 1 year history for Marigold. And it's a great way for her to go out, for Nanae to go out. Not only a great match, but just everything that was shown to her, the love. And I was even thinking at the end of the match, I said, we've seen this before, that they'd like to do these gauntlets. Like, do they do one in Cork and Hall? Do they do one? I was like, nope. We went right into it because she wasn't done. After 22 minutes of the damnedest match you've ever did see, she's like, no, I want to fight more. I was like, okay, I'm here for it. Tell me what's going on here.
What I loved as well is, before we kick into that, the gauntlets, or talk about that and wrap this incredible show up. We know how strong a striker Miku Aono is with the kicks and the strikes, kicks and the forearms and things like that. But something that's quite underrated is her general strength. Now, there is a clear size disparity between Nanae and Miku Aono. Yet Miku Aono dragged Nanae off the ropes to hit one of those styles clashes, which was, it takes an insane amount of strength, of core strength, to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And then to basically gut wrench Nanae into that 1 second EX and hold her there before hitting it. And again, when you consider the size difference between the two women, Miku Aono's strength is incredibly underrated. We talk so much about the fact that she trains at the K1 dojo. You know, she's trained with Yumiko Hata to make her even, apparently even more of a killer. But that strength is unreal, and fair play, because, again, I do think she wins this year's Dreamstar Grand Prix. I think she beats Mirai in the final. I think we rekindled that feud going forward as well, because that was one of the feuds of the first year of Marigold, and what a way to go into Grand Destiny and that sort of that time. We do go into a gauntlet with Nanae sort of basically calling on the fact that she's still got too much passion. She don't want to go down just yet. So a whole host of people come out. Senka Akatsuki comes out. She is full of passion, more passion than is possible to contain in one human.
And vitamins B6 and 12, because it wasn't just passion. That was like, even Nanae's like, I like passion, I like wrestling, but holy jeez, I don't know what their Chigusa Nagao is feeding these rookies, but holy jeez, she was fired up, right, in the best way possible, which is so endearing. That's what you want to see.
She then lost to Sari Yamaoka, which, what a great moment. What a great moment.
Via hug.
Via hug. Honestly, that was the moment where I was like, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. Stop it, wrestling. You're making me cry. It was a beautiful moment, that was, because of everyone backstage, the retirement of Nanae has probably hit Seri the hardest, just because of how close she has been to Nanae, and the fact that she's taken the refrigerator bomb and she's going to make that her own. That's a really nice moment. And then, of course, we had Kouki Amare come out, which I thought was great. Obviously, she hasn't been a part of this Passion Road because of her injury, so she got a chance to have one last chance with Nanae. I thought that was beautiful as well. And then we got little blasts from Nanae's past in Yumiko Hotta, who I didn't think we would see on this show, but there we are. And Momo Nakanishi, as I mentioned at the start of this show. What a bookend to Nanae's career. Her 4th ever match in wrestling was Momo Nakanishi, and now technically her final ever match in wrestling was against Momo Nakanishi. So from 1996 to 2025, and again, I think it's Peps on Twitter that put this out there. If it wasn't, I apologize. Please tell me who it was. I think it was Peps, though. Having that bookend on this, I think, was the perfect way to end this show. And then, of course, we had the crown. We had her taken around the crowd by Miku Aono and Utami and Mayu. The entire celebration. And this is what Mayu was talking about. It felt like a family. It felt like we were wishing like our favorite aunt out, off into the sunset. That's how it felt.
It felt like an Italian wedding.
It
Wow.
did.
And again, maybe because I'm
I've
Italian
never been to one, but okay, yes, it did.
Yeah, obviously I'm Italian. My wife's Italian, so it felt like an Italian wedding. All we just needed is some lasagna, some chicken parmesan, and some red wine, and we're good to go, buddy.
I want some chicken parmesan now. I mean, it's 10 to 10, but I want some chicken parmesan.
Yeah, there you go.
Honestly, this entire show was great. The last 4 matches were superb. The debut of Shinno was incredible. Easily, for me, the best debut I've seen. I'd put it at number 1. I don't have the same issue. I know that you don't quite know how to rank them. I think Shinno's was the best. I think in terms of feel, in terms of aura, in terms of what she was able to do, and in terms of the sides that we saw of her, I thought she was tremendous. I think the celebration of Nanae, you're absolutely right, Matt. I couldn't have put it better myself. The entire package, pun very much intended, of the entrance, the video packages, the match, the gauntlet, and then the celebration afterwards. Everything about that was perfect. 5 stars. Couldn't argue anymore. It's one of the easiest 5 stars I've ever given. And I wish Nanae nothing but the best in whatever she chooses to do next, because she has given so much to this company. We mentioned to wrestling, absolutely, but she has said that she wanted to retire again when she left Seedling because her legs were giving out. She's talked about a battle with mental health. The fact that she has taken this last run with Marigold and has done her best work in my eyes in years is credit to her. There's only one Nanae, and there will never be anyone that comes close. And when you think about who we've seen retire recently, Meiko Satomura, Arisa Nakajima, Nanae Takahashi, we're seeing Tae Honma obviously retire as well. I know Tae Honma isn't quite in the same, the same bracket as Nanae and Meiko, but so yeah, overall a tremendous show, capped off by one of the greatest wrestling retirements I've seen between that and Meiko Satomura. Incredible moments. Just before we kick on into Gaze of Julia, I just want to quickly go through what the 2 cards are that they've announced, Marigold, for the start of year 2, the beginning of the Burning Desire tour. So on Saturday, the 30th of May, we are in Komomo Minami's hometown. We are going with Mayu Utami, Mirai, and Victoria Yuzuki versus Miku Aono, Chika Goto, and Yuki Minami. Utami, Hayashishita, and Koki Amare versus Mai Sakurai and Chan Yota. Seri Yamaoka and Shinno will be taking on Kazuna Tanaka and Komomo Minami. Nagisa Takibana versus Chiaki. Hummingbird versus Ria Sato versus Misa Matsui. Ryoko Sakimura versus Megaton. It is worth pointing out, by the way, Misa Matsui officially challenged Mayu Iwatani to the Superfly Championship, which I didn't realize. Mayu Utami versus Mirai, Komomo Minami versus Mai Sakurai, Miku Aono, and Ria Sato on the 31st of May. Utami, Hayashishita, and Victoria Yuzuki versus Chiaki and Misa Matsui. Chan Yota versus Kazuna Tanaka. Chika Goto versus Hummingbird. Koki Amare versus Yuki Minami versus Megaton. Sari Yamaoka and Shinno versus Ryoko Sakimura and Nagisa tacky banner. But Matt, that being said, let's go into a gaze at Julia.
Julia, now a part of the SmackDown roster. Now, Rob Goodwin, unfortunately, I don't get to watch too much Friday Night SmackDown because of everything on my plate. However, now I have the opportunity and the option. Well, not the option, but I will be watching more SmackDown so I can do our gaze at Julia. We go Money in the Bank qualifier match. Julia, Charlotte Flair, and Zelina Vega. And boy, howdy, Zelina Vega. You want to talk about improved wrestlers? Because I only seen her like on the premium live events or certain things here or there. I really haven't seen too much of her the last 6 or 7 months. She was phenomenal in said match. This was a great, great match. And again, I always say 3-ways are tough to do. So for some reason, the ladies have it down to a science, buddy, because this is must see. If you haven't seen it or any of our listeners haven't seen this match, go out of your way to see this match. This was great. We get a strike exchange between Julia and Charlotte Flair. Early in the match spills out to the floor. Zelina Vega hits a moonsault off the post onto Charlotte and Julia. Zelina then hits a double hurricanrana onto Flair and Julia. Charlotte Flair comes back with a top rope high cross body. She puts Zelina Vega in the figure 4, going for the figure 8. As she bridges up, Julia just knees her right in the head, the Arrivederci knee in the head, because why not? Why not? That's who you get, Charlotte Flair. Julia then put Charlotte Flair in the Bianca. Haven't seen that quite some time. I thought that was really good. And the way she got into it with the back heel trip into it, like floated over into it like she would with a match with Sherry. I thought that was terrific. Julia was phenomenal as usual and really over with the crowd. Her and Charlotte Flair had some great exchanges, but I tell you what, Zelina Vega, she shined really well in this match. Charlotte goes for the figure 4 leg lock, but Zelina Vega, she breaks that up with a Meteor for a 2 count. Excellent spot. And then hits a code red to Julia. Julia then has the figure 4 leg lock onto Zelina Vega, finally bridging into the figure 8. I like how they keep building it, but yet she can't get to the bridge to the figure 8 because Julia blocks it or breaks it up. And then Zelina Vega breaks it up. Zelina Vega is just about ready to tap out, but Julia goes to the Izumi playbook, hitting a top rope double stomp as Charlotte Flair is in mid-bridge, taking Charlotte Flair out of the match, opening up the door for the Northern Lights bomb for the Beautiful Madness to hit on Zelina Vega for the 3 count. Julia will then qualify, or has qualified, for Money in the Bank ladder match. Again, folks, go out of your way to see this. This was fantastic. All 3 ladies shined in this match, and a really great showcase for Julia's first match on Friday Night SmackDown. 4.25 stars for me. Again, folks, go and watch it. It was terrific.
8th of June for WWE Money in the Bank. Hopefully, Julia will come out on top there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the Marigold Standard technical snafu, which hopefully I've managed to edit out aside. We hope you have enjoyed the show. An incredible show from Marigold, and 3 absolute must-see matches added to the Marigold collection as well. If you haven't already, if you could subscribe to the podcast, that would be really, really helpful. Leave us a 5-star review and a comment if you think we deserved it. Helps us be exposed to even more people so we can spread the word of Joshi. Patreon.com/the Stardom Cast for anyone that likes their episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 solitary a month. You can also find us at talkjoshi.com for all of your different Marigold needs, including stats, histories, records, and all of our archived episodes as well. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast, unless it is Blue Sky or Threads or Instagram, in which case it's Talk Joshi. You can also find me on Twitter. It's at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matt Turner, sign us off as we nearly clock in on the 4th hour of podcasting we've done today.
And I'm not done yet, my man. I am not done yet. I'm so excited. Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram, on the Twitter, and the Blue Sky as well. However, if you're like, Matt, I would like to send you an email, that's perfectly fine. Rob Goodwin's going to help you out with the email address. This email address simply is the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you, because like I always said, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.